The first person Loki saw was his dear friend Aisha. He remembered the moment when he opened his eyes, feeling empty and lifeless. But as soon as he saw Aisha, everything changed quick. Aisha quickly became Loki's companion and guide. She was the one who helped him understand clearly about the strange place he had just arrived, an orphanage with many other children. Loki quickly realized that, in addition to Aisha, he also had to face the terrifying director of the orphanage, who always made every child tremble when angry. He also discovered that bread tastes much better when dipped in soup. Aisha teaches Loki to read and write, helping him understand more about the outside world. However, Aisha cannot go out because she is sick. Aisha loves painting, but her paintings are more than just works of art. They are magical paintings. Over time, people in trouble began to come to Aisha. When they step into her magical paintings, magic happens. A sick bride is healed. A farmer lost his leg and grew a new one. An honest person who lost all his assets received good news in a magical bubble. Rumors of Aisha's magical abilities spread across the continent, attracting people from all over to seek her miracles. Aisha feels happy when helping people, and Loki is happy as long as Aisha is happy. Every once in a while, Aisha wishes Loki would remind her that she's going too far. But if Loki, with a heart full of love, felt it was something she needed to hear, he would say it. The two often dreamed of living in a house like in Aisha's paintings. She also said that other children often considered her a weirdo because of this strange ability. However, she always had Loki, who will calm her down, drink the storm, and hold her hand until she falls asleep. One fateful day, while they were sleeping, a man burst into the room, strangled Aisha in anger. He screamed that it was because of her that his wife and children died. Loki tries to keep him away from Atsats, but then realizes something is wrong. He felt like air, unable to truly touch her. Only when Aisha was attacked did Loki realize the horrifying truth. He was just a figment of Aisha's imagination, a figure she draws to keep herself comforted and at peace while sleeping. Loki expressed his regret for not being able to protect Aisha. The news reached the director's ears. The man was discovered yesterday in a desperate state. He kept mumbling that a monster from Aisha's painting had killed his wife and child. The director informed that this person would have to work with the military police. Then he went into the room to check on Aisha. She curled up in bed, sobbing. All she wanted was to help people, but she ended up hurting others. The director tried to encourage her to continue, emphasizing that her paintings had helped many people. He advised her to think about what Loki would say. Aisha replied that she could hear Loki's voice now, encouraging her to continue. The director emphasized that safety must come first. The director announced that Aisha was about to be adopted by a noble, which made him feel more secure knowing she was going to a safe place. He hugs her and says he will miss her, but she should know that she is going to a better place. However, Loki, despite being invisible, still overhears a conversation. Some people are talking that the director intentionally let the man in yesterday. Many believe that he sold Aisha away to get rid of her and her strange paintings, to avoid causing more trouble. Aisha followed out Loki to the noble's mansion. The noble welcomed her warmly, promising to receive both her and her paintings sincerely. Aisha stood stunned, overwhelmed by the beauty and magnificence of the mansion. The noble reassured her that from now on she would be a part of this world and could enjoy all the comforts around her. In excitement, he led her to a promising room. But something unexpected happened when the room turned out to be a bizarre combination of a hospital and a prison. He quickly handcuffed her to a chain attached to the bed. The atmosphere became heavy and scary when he calmly announced that from now on she would have to follow a new regime. She would be given 2 meals a day and forced to paint for him. In a gruesome revelation, he mentions her special way of painting, drawing with her own blood. He also proudly boasted that he had arranged a blood supply from the blood bank and had plans for blood transfusions when needed. He declared Aisha the key to bringing joy to many people, paints a horrifying picture of the life she will have to live according to his ambitions. Aisha didn't resist at all. She just hugged Loki's painting, whispering that everything was okay because she still had him by her side. However, her face told a different story. Tears fell and pain slowly took over her soul. Loki had no choice but to hug Aisha tightly. Suddenly, he couldn't contain his emotions anymore and exclaimed, "I hate humans." After all Aisha had endured, he couldn't blame himself for feeling so bitter. The sharp truth about this world, a world that had become so cruel, hung in the air. At a nearby bar, people were talking excitedly about a new discovery, about a body recently discovered in the area. The story spread quickly that corpses were appearing disturbingly, like uninvited guests. The strange thing is that there is not a single drop of blood left in these bodies. Rumors spread that there was a monster on the loose, but not everyone believes that story. A person in the bar said loudly, "Monster? No way." And that's just a fabrication. The real world has no place for such creatures? Amidst the noisy conversations, a group of guests encountered a hooded man dragging an unusually heavy object. Curious, one person asked him where he was taking that object. No response. One of the group became wary and placed his hand on the hooded man's shoulder, warning of rumors of monsters lurking around. Immediately, the hooded man reacted violently, pushing him away, and screamed that he didn't want to be touched. Loki entered the forest, keeping his promise to Aisha, to destroy the monsters born from her paintings. The conversations in the bar still echoed in his head, bodies without blood, and a secret only you know. Deep in the forest, Loki sensed a suspicious presence. A mysterious man, surrounded by an evil aura, appeared in Loki's sight, making him more alert than ever. The mysterious man bears strange markings on his forehead, further increasing the mystery of the meeting in the deep forest. There, a woman knelt, desperately begging for her life. As the mysterious man torments her with cruel gestures and demands that she explain why she deserves to live, Loki walked in and coldly ordered her to step aside so he could intervene. The mysterious man showed concern and questioned Loki about his heroic actions, claimed that he never invited anyone for help. Observing Loki's cold attitude towards this cruel scene, he was curious and mentioned a strange creature, what people call the monster from the witch's pictures. Loki remained calm and unmoved. The mysterious man continued to reveal the terrible truth. He discovered that monstrous creature in a wooden house where it killed an old man. Instead of destroying the monster, he decided to make a strange deal, treating it as a pet and business partner. But the condition to maintain this agreement is to find a way to nourish the monster, because it has a special need, consuming a large amount of blood. As the truth is gradually revealed, the connection between the monster and the bleeding bodies in the area begins to gradually piece together a complete picture. The mysterious man taunts Loki, mocking his ability to discover its hunting habits and how it eats. Loki quickly recognized this creature as Aisha's painting number 20. Was originally just a harmless spider, drawn by her to kill insects in the rose garden. The mysterious man laughed scornfully at Loki's discovery, disdaining the idea that this was just a pest control creature. He continued to taunt that this spider was immortal, so he used it for greater purposes. Amidst his sadistic laughter, Loki drew his sword, stand in a ready position. Aisha's paintings are not easily torn or disintegrated in water, creating a real challenge. But with cold precision, Loki quickly destroyed both the painting and the mysterious person. There was no regret on his face, just a steely determination, born from the belief that people were nothing more than nuisances. Before that, Aisha realized the bitter truth, that people call her works witches' monster paintings. The people who received her works began to turn into greedy people, taking advantage of the power of paintings for evil purposes. Now, they blame the so-called witch's curse, tainting Aisha's reputation and giving her an undeserved reputation. In a touching moment, Aisha revealed that she wanted to wait until the last moment, but time is no longer on her side. She dipped her paintbrush in her blood for the first time and carefully drew on Loki's sketch. A tear fell as she sent the picture into the wind, along with a final prayer: "Let Loki burn all creation tainted by evil." 109 springs have passed. Loki stands before Aisha's grave. Fulfill her promises and wishes. On his back is a picture frame, tool to help him track down and capture monsters born from Aisha's paintings. The story begins when Loki arrives at the Vinculum Company, a large marketplace with countless buyers and sellers. Someone in the crowd happened to notice the number 4 engraved on Loki's earring. Symbolizes Area 4. It's a little known and mysterious area. Vinculum Company is divided into 4 areas. Area 1, delivery. Area 2, sales. Area 3, production. In a hidden corner of Rumorville, there is an unpopular area, Area 4, also known as the company's cleaning team. They're like unsung heroes, handling all sorts of tasks from the mundane to the supernatural. Not everyone knows about Area 4, but rumor has it that the people here are a bit strange. It is said that they do not hesitate to recruit eccentric individuals, even those who have participated in illegal activities, and even immortals. Area 4 is not legendary. Loki approached the reception desk with a calm expression and asked to be connected. Just a few seconds later, he was transferred to a call, where a recorded message welcomed him to Vinculum's Area 4. After identifying himself, Loki asked about Saxon. When switched to another line, a voice explained that the boss was currently busy with negotiations and was expected to return in about a week. Loki, taking the opportunity, informed the secretary about the rumors surrounding Area 4. The secretary confirmed that the boss had left a message for Loki. Accordingly, he wanted Loki to visit a craftsman. On the way, Loki approached the house and asked the maids if Mike Fisher was home. A beautiful woman walked down the stairs, asking Loki what business he had with her husband. Loki remembered what the secretary had said. Shipments from a doll maker, whose boss used to manage when he was in Area 1, are being interrupted. The superiors believe that this is an appropriate case for Area 4 to handle, but the boss wants Loki to handle it himself. The final note from the secretary said the incident may have involved bloody paintings. Most tourists passing through this craftsman's villa were saved by him after an accident. Loki's mission this time is very simple. Destroy all the bloody paintings. There is no other choice. Loki looks straight at the woman and immediately asked her where her husband was. Emma begins to answer questions about Mike Fisher when suddenly a panicked man rushes down the stairs. It was Mike, and he quickly asked his wife why she was down here when she should be resting. Emma explained that she just wanted to go down and get some water, but Mike insisted that that was his maid's job. But Mike insists finally. Emma reluctantly agreed to go back to the room as her husband requested, that was the maid's job. Loki immediately went into interrogation mode, first confirming whether this man was indeed Mike Fisher, then asked why his shipments were late. Mike sighed and replied that he hadn't done anything worth delivering, and it might take more time. Loki continues with the second question. Does Mike know anything about witch painting? Mike said he had heard his father talk about them since he was a child. According to the story, there are 159 paintings in the collection, and the bloody paintings are the blood-red works of Aisia, who is now called a witch. He explains that these paintings bring magic, violating the laws of nature. However, for Mike, these paintings are just myths and fairy tales. He also expressed surprise that Vinculum Company wanted to participate in such things. Loki quickly clarified that he had only come to supervise Mike's completion of the dolls. Mike didn't object, and invited Loki to stay, saying he was used to having many visitors. Mike gives 2 conditions. Loki must help with the housework and keep Emma's health a secret. Curious, Loki asked more about Emma's condition, and Mike reluctantly admitted that she was too weak to leave the house. Want to change the subject quickly? Mike assigned Loki the task of clearing the grass. However, when Loki turned his back, suddenly Mike's sickle slid too close to him. Luckily, Loki quickly dodged, and Mike hastily argued that his hand slipped. After that incident, Mike led Loki to his private room. On the way, Loki noticed that the number of maids in the house was unusual. Mike explains that he hired them since Emma got sick. Mike then pointed to Emma's room at the end of the hallway on the 2nd floor, saying that Loki could visit her at any time. When Mike left, Loki was still trying to get used to the situation when suddenly a large beam of light fell straight on him. Luckily, Loki dodged in time. No one knew that a maid had intentionally caused this accident, with the intention of harming Loki. As Loki tried to piece together the strange events, he asked a maid about the house's previous visitors. Unexpectedly, he discovered that all the maids were silent for unknown reasons. After a while of searching, Loki found Emma's room. As he entered, a strangely familiar feeling overwhelmed him. The figure lying on the bed with an IV tube next to him reminded him of Aisia. In a split second, Emma recognized Loki and happily asked if he wanted to stay with her. She happily invited him to drink tea, showing her hospitality. But Loki, as usual, got straight to the point, asked Emma immediately if she knew anything about witch paintings. Emma was surprised and asked again if Loki had come here to tell stories about those paintings. Realizing this question yielded no results, Loki moved on to the next question. He wanted to know if Emma knew why her husband's doll shipments were late. This question stunned Emma. She claimed that her husband worked all day and only entered the doll room at night. According to Mike, all the money from selling dolls is used to pay salaries and hire maids in the house. Emma sincerely apologized for not understanding her husband's work well and explained the communication gap between them. She attributed this to the fact that Mike was always busy with work and her health condition didn't allow them to talk often. Loki begins to suspect that Mike may be intentionally keeping Emma in the house, but Emma quickly defended her husband, saying it was just clumsiness in his behavior. While remembering the past, Emma recounts their love story. It was a chance meeting when Mike was a puppeteer in a traveling theater troupe, and she lived in a luxury villa. Their story is like love at first sight, a love that transcends the class boundaries between rich and poor. Under the power of love, Emma gave up her wealthy life to pursue Mike. In the early days, they faced financial difficulties, struggled to make ends meet, and lived each day together. Before starting his career, Mike's puppetry was recognized. Emma always feels happy when she is with Mike. This story reminds Loki of Aisha, and he quickly left the room. In the doll room, Mike muses about his scary conversation with the doctor, who broke the bad news about Emma's condition. At first, Mike did not accept the diagnosis, just thinking it was a common cold, unable to believe that the illness was so serious. However, the doctor remained adamant, warning that Emma's time was running out. At this time, a timid maid approached Mike to report that her attempt to harm Loki had failed. Mike seemed indifferent, not interested in details, and assigned her a more important task: collect Loki's blood. This was a ritual she had performed with previous visitors. Because the first time failed, Mike asked her to try again. Don't hesitate. This maid brought a knife and headed straight to Loki's room.
But when she arrived, she suddenly discovered that the bed was empty. Loki was not there.
Meanwhile, Loki quietly went to the doll room and confronted Mike. Asked about the attempts to assassinate him and the murky purpose of collecting tourists' blood. The conversation becomes tense as Loki delves deeper into the mystery. He pointed out that there had been 12 victims. The first time by Mike himself, the next time by the maids. Loki explains that he has realized the terrible truth. These maids are part of the blood painting. He warns Mike that this painting is gradually reaching its limit. The maids depend on blood to survive, and it's only a matter of time before they lose control and begin slaughtering without discrimination. Mike countered, claiming that Loki didn't understand the situation and was complacent, thinking he knew everything. However, Loki's prediction quickly came true. The maids had lost control and were rushing up the stairs straight towards Emma. With nimble feet, Loki uses Absolution Frame, the second form, quickly blocking the maids in the narrow hallway. The danger has been resolved, but Loki quickly realized the terrifying truth. The painting had taken control of the dolls, penetrating their joints, turning them into his tools. He recognized this as painting number 24, titled Marionette's Love. Loki connects all the details, recalling the story that originated with Astoria and Aisha. She created a puppet who fell in love with her master. The painting is revived by the lover's tears. At first, the man who owned the painting was happy to have his doll come back to life, but soon he became dissatisfied and began creating more dolls. The painting, over time, begins to demand blood, and the initial magical tears gradually turned into the current chaos. But in the name of the witch Isya, Loki sealed the distorted picture into its frame, ending all the chaos. However, Mike appeared dissatisfied when witnessing the incident. He laments that he needs the dolls to stay alive. Loki, filled with frustration, asked why humans, who were given free will, chose to live like puppets. Emma, to ease the tension, suddenly asked Mike a bold question if he regretted marrying her, about our current situation. Emma pondered, remembering the days of luxurious strolls in the garden, until the house became filled with flashy furniture. But sometimes she feels like she is just a lonely person in her own villa, Mike countered, admitting that no matter how hard he tried, he felt it was never enough. He confessed that he always looked at the gap between ideals and reality in this marriage, hoping to build a perfect future that would erase Emma's sadness. He confided that he was haunted by the thought that Emma had married someone unworthy, and that he had robbed her of the luxurious life she once had. Mike is immersed in the torment of expectations that are never satisfied. In an emotional moment, Emma gently raised 2 fingers, asking Mike if he remembered the meaning of this gesture. The scene flashes back to the past, recounts Emma's engagement to someone she does not love, an arranged marriage arranged by her father, who views women as commodities. It was during that difficult time that Mike made the 2-finger gesture. It symbolizes the promise to cut off everything that Emma does not want to keep. Emma, blushing but still joking, asked Mike if that was his strange way of proposing. She confessed that Mike was the one she truly loved. These sweet memories bring a bit of tenderness to their complicated relationship, helping to clarify the sincere love between the two, despite the hardships that have passed. Spider Loki, after completing everything related to the bloody painting, began his journey back to headquarters. To save time, he chose to go on a deserted highway, leading straight to the headquarters. On the way, Loki met two villagers talking about the dangers of traveling on this road. They talk about a monster that attacks merchants. During the conversation, they expressed hope of finding someone to show them the way. When seeing Loki's symbol, the two villagers breathed a sigh of relief, realizing that they had just met the person they were looking for. The symbol on Loki's body shows that he is from the Vinculum Company, and they have an agreement with this company. However, Loki was completely unaware of what was going on, leaving both sides confused. The two villagers introduced themselves as the Guardians of Tanita Village. They explained that a series of terrible murders and robberies have occurred along the old highway they are traveling on. According to the village's reasoning, the traders were the only targets of these attacks. Therefore, people contacted Vinculum Company, famous for having the largest merchant network on the continent, to ask for help. The atmosphere between the two sides was filled with suspicion and confusion. The two guards began to suspect that they might have come across the wrong person, as Loki also looked lost and didn't seem like he wanted to help. Loki, for his part, was even more confused because he had not received any instructions from the company to help Tanita Village. Another thing that made the two guards even more suspicious was the information they received from the company saying that two merchants would be sent to support the village. Hearing that, Loki realized that this mission required two people, but he was alone. Loki wondered who was left on this mission. Immediately, he was ambushed by a man who was agile and skillful in using handcuffs. As expected, Loki stopped his attack and quickly regained the initiative. The attacker, in a familiar voice, asked Loki, "Are you getting stronger?" Swing, implying that Loki could now easily block his attack. That crazy attacker was Tao Yuan, also known as White Lightning, a member of Area 4 of the Vinculum Company, like Loki. And yes, Tao Yuan is the second merchant assigned to work with Loki. After a dangerous and somewhat bizarre encounter, Tao Yuan introduces them in a humorous yet ironic way. He introduced himself, "I am White Lightning, currently in the process of reforming after 10 years of working as a professional pickpocket." He then turns to Loki and calls him a silent, emotionless bloodbath. These two people are the Vinculum Company's response to the request for help from Tanita Village. A natural reaction, the village guards began whispering in disbelief, worried about entrusting their lives to a blood addict and a pickpocket trying to integrate into society. One person in the group quietly asked, "Why is Tao Yuan handcuffed?" With joking attitude, true to his character, Tao Yuan told everyone not to pay attention to the handcuffs, explaining that it was just a self-imposed measure to stop taking things without realizing it. To illustrate the explanation, Tao Yuan smiled and apologized to Loki for being late and announced that the boss asked them to solve this mission together. However, while talking, Tao Yuan cleverly stole an item from Loki without making a sound. Of course, Loki immediately noticed and, in a calm but firm voice, asked Tao Yuan to return the item he had just stolen. Tao Yuan apologizes to Loki, blaming old habits that are hard to break, and says he's in the process of reforming, or at least trying to improve. Their pranks and irresponsibility took place right in front of the guards, making them even more doubtful whether these two merchants could really help the village. But there was no other choice. They realized that Loki and Tao Yuan were the only hope they had, because they had no one else to turn to. So the guards lead the two to Tanita Village, hoping they can end the string of murders. The brutal acts are making the whole village confused. Upon hearing about the horribly mangled corpses, Loki suddenly became more interested in the incident. When they arrived at the village, they witnessed a horrifying scene. Corpses or nearly dead people hanging from trees scattered everywhere, more than the number of people alive in the village. This attack happened for the 5th time, leaving a merchant cut in half and his goods looted. The guards quickly informed the mayor that a representative of the Vinculum Company had arrived. The mayor warmly welcomed Loki and Tao Yuan, thanking them for coming to help. He explained that the village had sent a request to Sacred Messonat for help, but the organization was busy with an investigation and could not help immediately. The mayor begins to describe the situation. The guards are dismantling the corpse, or at least the lower body, because the upper part of the body has been lost, leaving only the tied legs. Loki and Tao Yuan analyzed the scene together. By the way, the corpses were placed in prominent locations. They concluded that the perpetrator was probably very confident, or was bragging about the number of people he had killed. They pointed out that if this were the behavior of robbers, they would often hide the body to avoid attracting attention. But here, the corpses deliberately displayed. This led the two to speculate that the display of corpses had a clear purpose. When the Guardians witnessed Loki and Tao Yuan's precise and meticulous analysis, their initial impressions of the two quickly improved. The initial doubts gradually disappeared when they realized the professionalism of this duo. After looking further into the stolen items, Tao Yuan quickly realized that this case could involve multiple people, and especially a bloody painting, Loki's area of expertise. This is an opportunity for Loki to develop his abilities. Loki continued his analysis, saying that the mutilation of the victim's upper body played an important role in the blood picture. Based on the wound on the body, Loki guessed that the weapon used was shaped like a saw blade. Additionally, since there were no footprints around the scene, Loki surmised that this bloody painting had the ability to fly. Tao Yuan admired Loki's astuteness and experience, marveling at the speed with which he pieced together all the clues. While continuing to investigate, Tao Yuan reveals that Saxon told him that the errands in Area 4 were just a cover. Their real goal is to recover all the bloody paintings. Incidentally, this was also Tao Yuan's first mission related to the blood painting. He encouraged Loki, telling them both to do their best in this mission. The moment between the two was quickly interrupted when a little girl was stopped by a guard. The little girl is looking for her father, making Loki and Tao Yuan curiously ask about her father's identity. They discovered that the girl was the only survivor from the attacked convoy, found unconscious and mentally collapsed. When the girl approached one of the bodies, she collapsed and burst into tears, vowing not to forgive the monster who did this. Loki observed carefully, then gently asked her to recount everything that had happened. The little girl began telling the tragic story, saying that everything happened in the blink of an eye. A monster, with a black body and sharp teeth, appeared hovering right in front of them. When the girl made eye contact with it, a strong force suddenly hit her body. She said if she hadn't been thrown under the car, she would have died right there. After finishing telling the horrifying story, the girl begged them to take her with them, even if they had to act as bait. She affirms that she is willing to do anything to avenge her father, even if it means going to hell. Tao Yuan tried to calm her down, telling her they would never use her as bait. However, Loki, determined to recover the bloody paintings at all costs, immediately agreed to the plan to use the girl as bait. Meanwhile, at the Devil's camp, they were laughing and boasting about their spoils and the lives they had taken. They joked disgustingly, even fantasized about mating, and expressed a desire to experiment with a doll, further highlighting their depravity and cruelty. Back in the village, the mayor led Loki and Tao Yuan to the guest house that had been prepared for them. Loki immediately asked if those who had tended to her wounds had seen any markings on her body. When receiving a negative answer, Loki eliminated the possibility that she was the owner of the bloody painting. Tao Yuan focused on the girl's condition, expressing his condolences and consoling that her father would be happy to know that at least she had survived, even though he was gone. Loki then asked her if anything strange happened before she fainted. At this time, the representative of Sacred Mecenat appeared, at the right time as if it had been prearranged. The leader approached the mayor, apologized for being late, and then quickly praised Mecenat's principles. He emphasized that their mission is to protect all good values such as culture, ideas, language, nature, life, and all things beautiful. Finally, the chief announced that they would dispose of the bodies of the traitors and deal with the robbers. Tao Yuan realized that maybe they didn't need to do too much on this mission, and he added that he had recently met many members of Sacred Mecenat. He explains that the organization began when museum people took up arms to defend the ancient Tower of Babel in the center of the continent. They later evolved into a charitable organization funded by sympathetic nobles. Thanks to this support, Sacred Mecenat became a voice across the continent, calling for help and salvation. In the midst of this, the girl suddenly recognized someone in the crowd. That was the person she saw before she fainted during the attack. According to the girl, the car stopped because this person lay dead right in front of the car, seemingly falling in the middle of the road. The suspicious person quietly left the crowd. But Loki doesn't have time to be a detective. He quickly chased after the suspect. Tao Yuan tried to keep Loki calm and gather information before acting. Meanwhile, the little girl tried to stop Tao Yuan, pretending to be weak and sad to trick him for a while. However, suddenly, the girl pulled out a blue knife and attacked Tao Yuan. He was lucky to avoid the attack in time, but the blow was so precise that it was only a few millimeters away from hitting him in the eye. The girl took off her glasses and abandoned her innocent appearance, revealing her true, cruel, and dangerous nature. Where they were standing, her subordinates had surrounded the entire area, blocking all escape routes. Even Tao Yuan realized that they were cornered and the enemy was outnumbered, but that didn't scare him. Believing in his strength, he used Absolution Frame, first form, wiping out most of her accomplices, even while he was still handcuffed. At that moment, Loki appeared. He questioned the girl in a playful tone about the location of the bloody picture. The girl replied sarcastically, saying that it was sad that Loki had not yet realized that there was no bloody painting. Her attack group only created a fake incident involving a bloody painting to lure Loki into appearing. Curious, Loki asked her what she wanted from him, but she only responded in a sarcastic tone, encouraging him to think of it himself. As Loki and the girl continued to chat, Tao Yuan was cleaning up her minions. After a short exchange, Loki quickly won, leaving the girl in a weak position in the blink of an eye. But soon, an unexpected situation occurred. When Loki's blade touched her neck, she suddenly used the sword to cut her chest, causing blood to spurt out, splashing into Loki's face. That blood, like a real picture of blood, began to affect Loki, making him feel a stronger hunger. That was exactly what the girl wanted to achieve. She knew Loki, an image of blood, could not bear contact with blood. To try to stay away from the girl and control himself, Loki uses the Forgiveness Frame, in limited form, to confine her and at the same time restrain her bloodlust. At that moment, representatives of Sacred Mechanat appeared, announcing that they had come to arrest the bandits. Before Sacred Mechanat could act, Loki tried to gather information from the girl, but she just mysteriously remained silent and said goodbye, affirming that they will meet again. Afterwards, Loki successfully restrained his bloodlust, and his wound disappeared with the disappearance of the girl. They return to the village, but Tao Yuan is curious about how Loki's wound healed and where the girl went. Upon arriving at the village, the people expressed their gratitude to them, not only for destroying the group of bandits, but also for finding a map leading to their hideout. This thanks to Tao Yuan accidentally stealing from a robber, robbed without him realizing it. The village guards quickly found a hiding place and discovered a large amount of treasure and valuable objects. But there was one thing in particular that caught Loki's attention, a doll that looks exactly like Aisha. Meanwhile, the girl returned to her hideout and nursed her wound, frustrated at not being able to kill the red-haired guy, meaning Loki. It turns out the girl is a curator working under Umbrella Vision, a branch of Sacred Mechanat, with the goal of dealing harshly with Loki for destroying the wizard's legacy. When Loki discovered the doll, he looked closely and realized the uncanny resemblance between the doll and Aisha. Unexpectedly, when touching the doll, it transformed into a young girl identical to the witch Aisha. But she didn't remember anything about Loki or who he was. In a daze, Loki muttered Aisha's name, unable to believe that his creator could be standing right in front of him. Loki's excitement died down when the girl asked, "Who is Aisha?" The village guards also gathered, trying to understand what was happening when the doll suddenly came back to life and wondered who she was and where she came from. Faced with these strange events, they decided to return to the city to report the results and took the girl with them because she no longer remembered anything. The girl is considered very valuable to the Vinculum Company, so Loki and Tao Yuan decide to take her to the company headquarters to take care of her. They said goodbye to the people and made their way back to the company headquarters. Upon arrival, Tao Yuan reassures the girl that the company's Area 4 will help her regain her memories and will also search for her parents. They quickly arrived at Area 4 headquarters, where they met up with the remaining team. The leader of Region 4, Saxon, of Vinculum Company, welcomes Loki and Tao Yuan with a mysterious girl. Also curious about her, he asked her name. She responded by showing the card she held when she woke up, which had the name Leech on it, and she introduced herself as Leech. Saxon welcomes Leech to Region 4 headquarters and introduces himself as the region's leader. While all of this is going on, Loki feels uncomfortable around Leech, as she is identical to Aisha in both appearance and voice, but remembers nothing about Loki or Aisha. This makes Loki feel insecure and confused. After introductions, Saxon informed Leech that Area 4 would need to conduct a quick medical examination on her, and reassured her that there was no need to worry and to be careful. Saxon continues to introduce how Area 4 works and their goals. Track and collect the witch's blood paintings. He explains that their goal is to collect all the bloody pictures scattered everywhere. Realizing that Leech didn't know anything about the blood paintings, Saxon explained in detail. Blood paintings are special works created by a girl, and there are about 159 paintings in the world. Area 4's goal is to collect all of these paintings, as they can transform into objects filled with darkness, cruelty, and death. Saxon goes on to explain that humans always want more, and they desire things that go beyond miracles. It is these desires that force the paintings to go beyond their limits, making them bloodthirsty. If these paintings come into contact with a drop of blood, they will turn into tools of destruction and can never return to the magical paintings they once were. After the brief explanation, Saxon did not expect Leech to understand immediately. They went into the lobby, where they were nearly shot by another member of the precinct. Here, Leech meets the remaining members of Area 4 present at headquarters. One of the members, a woman, started teasing Loki about how Leech looked exactly like Aisha and asked him how he felt when he saw that similarity. This angered Loki, and he glared at her, making her excited and constantly teasing him. Saxon intervenes, stops the argument, and asks Loki to seal the newly collected blood painting at headquarters. He also told the girl who teased Loki to fix the wall they damaged, then asked Licha and Taoyuan to follow him into the laboratory. However, when everyone was about to make the request, they discovered that the leech had disappeared. She followed Loki down to the cellar, where the bloody paintings were kept. Loki sealed the bloody painting, freeing it from pain, before realizing Licha was standing nearby. He asked her why she was here, and she explained that she was just curious about the person she resembled. Lich continued asking if Loki knew that person, adding that he had called her Aisha when they first met. This made Loki angry. He screamed at her to stop, admitted that the resemblance annoyed him. He said that the fact that Licha looked at him with eyes identical to Aisha's, but like a stranger, was disturbing his mind. Loki also warns that he will show no mercy if Licha is truly a bloody painting that has transformed into Aisha. This made Leech feel bad. She wondered what she had said or done to make Loki so angry. As Leech cried, her tears fell onto the painting that Loki had just sealed, causing the signature and bloodstains on it to gradually disappear. In an attempt to repair the damage, she redraws the signature with her tears. In doing so, the magical picture where the monster once came back to life, and she reverses the transformation of the blood paintings, something that until now seemed impossible. Lich begins to play with her new friend, a bird from the painting, but the fun is quickly interrupted by a member of Area 4 coming to find her to perform a test. This member teased her, saying they would drain every drop of blood from her body. Hearing that, as expected, Leech panicked and causes her new bird, now a companion, to attack the people of Area 4. An opportunity to escape opened up from there, and the Leech K and the bird quickly ran away. Upon realizing they had escaped, the Area 4 member suddenly discovered that the bird was actually a bloody painting, making the situation a lot more dangerous than he had thought. He tried to call Leech back, but like everyone, she didn't want her blood drawn. Meanwhile, Taoyuan started searching for Licha, and Loki came in to report to Saxon that he had finished sealing the bloody paintings. During their conversation, Loki and Saxon discussed the sacred art and the group of robbers they had encountered before. According to what he investigated, Saxon revealed that this secret bandit group was collecting blood paintings and seems to be planning to do something bad with the paintings they have collected. Saxon suspects that the incident in the village may have been caused by this group to remove Loki from the game and prevent him from destroying the bloody paintings. Although it is only speculation, Saxon assured that the investigation will continue. As for Licha, nothing unusual was detected through the tests, and the results showed that she was completely normal, just looked strangely like a witch. Finally, a member of the group found her, but Licha continued to flee, causing Loki and the others to contact her through the blood painting. It turns out that blood paintings have the ability to allow people to communicate over long distances. Licha's ability to turn blood paintings into magical paintings surprised everyone, and after a while, they found her to see for themselves. When Loki tried to take the creature back from the leech, she resisted in the same way that Aisha had reacted when she created the painting and was taken away. This causes Loki to change his mind and not destroy the blood painting. This delays the inevitable. For all Area 4 members who witnessed the incident, this was a great shock. Based on what happened, they gradually came to the conclusion that Licha may be the second witch. When some members of Division 4 took Lech shopping, Loki stood quietly from afar, watching Leche run through the streets, identical to his beloved Aisha. This brought to Loki's mind a profound memory of Aisha when she was imprisoned in the castle, asking him what the outside world was like. Mona, a member of Division 4, advised Lecce to stay close to her because the market was very crowded. Mona plans to buy clothes and underwear first, and then other necessary items. Loki quietly observed them from afar, keeping his distance so as not to get too close. Levi complained about feeling Loki's sharp gaze from afar, while Kite wondered why Loki would join them if he didn't like crowds. Taoyuan, always cheerful, expressed surprise and excitement to see Loki following them to the festival. Earlier that morning, Mona asked the director if she could take Lech to a nearby festival to buy new clothes. The director happily agreed, saying she could go. When Taoyuan heard this, he also asked permission to go with Mona. Levi decided to join because he didn't want to miss out on good sales. Heidel also participates, hoping to meet someone at the festival, maybe a beautiful girl. When Loki appeared, he just said he wanted to go with everyone. Levi asked Loki if he was serious. Loki explains that because Lecce is related to the blood painting, he cannot let her out of his sight. At the market, Levi complains that Loki acts like a stalker, always worrying too much about Lecce. Levi found it strange that Loki always kept a strange distance, but still insisted on following her while refusing to be friendly. Taoyuan smiled and told Levi that Loki was just shy. But Heidel objected, asking Taoyuan not to defend Loki. Heidel then realized Taoyuan was holding the camera and wallet. He asked where Taoyuan got them from. At this moment, Taoyuan realized that he had accidentally stolen them without paying attention. Alarmed, he shouted, not expecting to accidentally steal again. The person looking for the camera approached, causing Taoyuan to return it and apologize, explaining that it was just an accident. Surprisingly, the man was very understanding, smiled and told Taoyuan not to worry, because he was just a camera lover. Taoyuan continued to apologize, then hurriedly ran around the market, asked everyone who lost their wallet so he can return it. Levi and Heidel felt embarrassed by Taoyuan's actions, and Levi sighed, saying that Taoyuan with him was as big a mystery as Loki. When she arrived at the clothing store, Mona showed Lecce some beautiful clothes, curiously asking her which one she liked. Lecce confessed that she didn't have enough money to buy any set. However, Mona smiled and assured her not to worry. They would deduct money from Loki's salary. Levi encouraged Lecce to choose something more fashionable, encouraging her to choose the cutest items when she had the chance. He even chose an elegant dress for her. Meanwhile, Heidel has the opposite opinion, believing that simplicity is beauty, and he chooses a simple dress for Lecce, insisting that she should wear it. Lecce was worried about which outfit to choose, looking towards Loki in confusion, but Loki avoided her eyes, making her feel scared and uncertain about her choice. Levi laughed, advising Lecce that there was no use worrying about Loki's reaction. Lecce admitted that she felt nervous, explaining that it was because she was using Loki's money. Levi comforted her, said it was okay, and encouraged her to choose a dress. At the same time, he expressed surprise about Saxon creating Division 4 just for Loki. Levi's comment caught Lecce's attention. She asked if they collected blood paintings just because of Loki. Levi explains that the reason he joined Division 4 was to find someone, and that hunting for the blood painting was just a means to an end. Heidel reveals that he joined Division 4 after being forced to leave the country because of a bloody painting, and now he is determined to find it again. Mona explains that she is not an official member of Division 4, but always tries her best to support. She also mentioned Loki, saying that his reason for joining was clear. As Mona was explaining that Taoyuan had recently joined Division 4, Lecce began to lose concentration. Think about Saxon's words earlier. Saxon had told her that Loki was not sure about her yet, because she was too similar to the witch he loved. Saxon also advised her not to blame Loki for that. Levi noticed that Lecce was deep in thought, and asked if she was still worried about what Loki thought. Afterward, Levi leads her to Loki, suggesting that they need a chance to get to know each other. Levi tells Loki that it seems like they need a chance to bond, then encourages Lecce to be nice to Loki. Lecce, filled with anxiety, mustered up the courage to talk to Loki, apologizing and explaining that she just wanted to talk. However, Loki coldly smiled faintly, turned his back, and told her that there was nothing to say to her. The girl in the picture, whom Lecce calls Pokyu, has a habit of raising her middle finger when teasing. Upon seeing Lecce upset after Loki's reaction, Pokyu got angry and attacked Loki, slapping him hard. Loki angrily grabbed Pokyu and demanded an explanation for the previous attack. Loki angrily threw Pokyu back to Lecce. Pokyu then sobbed as Lech checked to see if he was okay. However, Pokyu teased Loki again, making him even angrier. Meanwhile, Lech asked Pokyu why he was behaving like that. Pokyu's actions reminded Loki of Aisha, who felt uneasy as he remembered a time when he took care of Aisha's pet, a chick, and the bloody painting associated with it when Aisha was still alive. Although Loki tried his best to attract Aisha's attention, standing next to her, she still did not notice his presence. He was even more upset when he saw Leche hugging Pokyu. In anger, Loki quickly grabbed Pokyu and threw him into the lake. The other members who witnessed the whole incident felt embarrassed by Loki's actions. Pokyu, angry at being thrown into the water, immediately counterattacked, rushing at Loki, and pulled them both into the water. Leche panicked, and a Heidel had no other choice, in addition to helping pull the boat back to shore. Once ashore, Lech asked what to do with Pokyu and Loki. Levi advised her to ignore them and not waste time worrying about them, because they still had many things to buy. While the other members of Division 4 continued to roam the market, everything around Leche suddenly froze. People and sounds disappeared, leaving only Leche. Seems unaffected by this strange phenomenon. The photographer, coming down from the hill with a creepy smile, approached Leche, asking why she could still move. Leche recognized it as the man from before. The man wondered if she could move, because he hasn't supplied enough blood to the camera. He then pointed at a passerby and pointed the camera at that person. The camera transformed, revealing sharp teeth, biting the passerby's back and biting off a portion of flesh. The man decided to try again, and took pictures of Lech, but she ran away. Unfortunately, her robe got caught on the camera frame, causing her to stop for a moment. She quickly took off her cloak and ran away, but the man continued to chase her with the camera. Leche hid carefully, while the man searched everywhere like a hunter. Unfortunately, Pokyu accidentally flew towards her and fell to the ground. Leche, happy to see him, asked Pokyu Loki where he was, but Pokyu pretended not to know. Saxon suddenly called, and Lech and Pokyu had to keep their mouths shut. Leche whispered everything to Saxon, recounting everything that had happened. Saxon warns her about the blood painting's involvement, and advised her not to get caught. When Lech asked about leaving the rest, Saxon sadly confirmed that they had no other choice. Lech feels moved. Remember the moment when Mona made a necklace from her name tag and emphasizes the family bond between them. The photographer discovered where Lech was hiding and prepared to take a picture of her. However, Pokyu bravely sacrificed himself, pushed Lech aside, and was photographed instead of her. The photographer angrily wondered where Pokyu came from, but ultimately decided to let it go, informing Lecha that she would be next. Lecha asked the photographer why he used the blood painting for such a purpose, because she heard that witches created them to bring happiness. Using them in this way will make the picture melancholic. Suddenly, Loki burst into the scene, leaping forward in front of the leech. The photographer angrily confronts Loki, accusing him of breaking his camera. Lecha quickly warned Loki not to let the man take pictures of him, but the man grabbed Loki's right hand, freezing it. Loki quickly used his sword to cut off his frozen arm. After that, he and Leech ran into a building. However, a moment later, Loki collapsed to the ground. Leech is worried about Loki's arm, but he reassures her that there is no need to worry, because if they destroy the camera, his arm will return. When I saw Leech crying, Loki realized that every time she cried or laughed, he felt a burning pain in his throat. This is not because he craves blood, but because she resembles Aisha so much that it hurts to see her experience the outside world that Aisha always wanted. Loki explains to Leech that the camera is actually painting number 1, called the Magic Box. Initially, it was just a simple sketch of the camera that Aisha imagined when she was imprisoned in the tower. As Aisha's imagination soared, she drew what she read in books and newspapers before her death. She even used her own blood to draw these simple sketches, hoping they would bring joy to the world. Loki hates humans because they have trampled on Aisha's legacy. As the photographer continued to search outside, Loki quickly threw his cloak at him, and the worker was instantly frozen. Loki took this opportunity to rush towards the man, remembering the plan he had discussed with Lecha. Loki tells Lech that even though she's not strong, she can still erase these paintings. These paintings require 3 conditions to work: Aisha's wish, signature, and blood. If any of these conditions are lacking, they will stop working. Loki told Leech that he would distract the man, and even though he was frozen, she had to concentrate on erasing the signature on the painting. Luckily, Leach had succeeded in removing the signature, causing the camera to disappear and everything to return to normal. Soon after, a woman discovered the photographer with a wound in his back and screamed, thinking he had been stabbed. The worker, in a state of shock, collapsed, but Loki, filled with rage, knocked him unconscious. While having dinner at the company, Levi confessed that he didn't realize anything had happened. Heidel said he wished he could use that camera. Everyone joked about the situation and invited Loki to eat with them. Levi also mentioned that Loki never seemed to eat. As Loki passed by, he remembered the time Aisha had told him that bread tasted better when dipped in soup. When Loki shared this information, everyone was surprised, wondering when Loki would start to care about food. The next morning, Leech and Tao Yuan walked around town. Tao Yuan looked happy when he heard that Loki had chosen Leech's outfit. Leech is also happy that Tao Yuan returned everyone's wallets. Tao Yuan felt excited because he was gradually recovering and was about to see his brother again. Suddenly, Leech sensed a presence behind him and turned around. She panicked when she saw a bloody picture of a giant dog. But after rubbing my eyes, she realized the dog had disappeared, as if it had never existed. After trying on the new outfit from the market, the members of Ward 4 continued to compliment Leech's appearance. Saxon then mentioned the strange phenomenon that Leech could still move, even though the entire village had been frozen by the previous photographer. This is similar to how the blood paintings do not affect Aisha, and it seems that Leech also possesses the same ability. Then the members of Area 4 received reports of a strange disease called issues. According to reports, one person from Zone 1 was infected, but the way it spread is still unclear. Infected people begin to show symptoms of skin discoloration, as if they are covered in bandages, and eventually turn into mummies before dying, as their entire bodies are covered. At the same time, there are rumors of a large black dog appearing in town, suggesting that there may be a connection between the plague and the bloody paintings. Leech told Saxon that she had met the dog, and that it had disappeared quickly, apparently in pain. The painting even asked her for help. This surprised Loki, as it was the first time a painting had automatically approached the Leech. Leech added that if anyone is using witch paintings for bad purposes, she wants them to stop. Saxon agreed and reassured that dealing with the painting would be possible with both the Leech and Loki together. He orders Leech and Loki to go to the infected town to investigate. Since Tao Yuan had relatives there, Saxon also encouraged him to join, even though Loki warned of the risk of infection. Saxon then announced the involvement of the Holy Mecenat organization in this arrangement. The three set out for town. When they arrived, the guards stopped them and did not let them in. Loki explains that they are from the Vinculum Company and intend to cooperate in the investigation, as their employees have also been infected. Although the guards understood the importance of the Vinculum Company, they were still hesitant to allow them entry. However, when Peter, a mid-level manager, arrived, he ordered the guards to let them enter. Peter knows that Area 4 deals with unusual phenomena, and this strange plague is beyond their capabilities. He hopes the assistance from District 4 will benefit the investigation. Loki asks Peter about the situation. Peter explains that the plague was discovered 2 weeks ago, just 5 days after their arrival. The number of infected people increases every day, and they have identified 4 cases appearing in their group. Peter describes the 2 most prominent symptoms as skin rashes, with the main signs being coughing up blood, dizziness, tremors, and nausea. These rashes spread slowly and lead to death when fully developed. Investigations show that increased heart rate speeds up the spread of the disease. When they arrived at the village shelter, Tao Yuan was surprised to see his brother Khan in a wheelchair and also infected. Khan appeared surprised, reminding Tao Yuan that he told him not to come back until the handcuffs were removed. Tao Yuan explains that he cannot leave his brother in need of help. However, Khan advised Tao Yuan to leave, not wanting him to witness his death. Tao Yuan approached his brother, reassuring him that Khan would not die, and they will find a cure. But before Tao Yuan could finish, Khan started vomiting blood. Doctors immediately rushed to help. At the same time, a woman lost her husband to illness, causing tensions in the center to rise, forcing Loki, Tao Yuan, and Leech to leave. When he walked out, Tao Yuan shared that since he was a child, he had good division skills and agile hands. Thanks to that, he supported himself by picking pockets. These skills led him to his family and meet the brothers Khan and Cho. The days with them were always fun. and they made a lot of effort to help him reform. Even though they weren't blood-related, they were still his family. Tao Yuan sincerely urged Loki and Leech to cooperate to find a solution. Later, Tao Yuan returned to visit his brother Khan, but Khan was angry that Tao Yuan remained, despite telling him to leave. Khan asked Loki to take Tao Yuan away, and Loki agreed, saying he would do so after getting the painting back. Tao Yuan decided to gather more information by running to investigate. When Tao Yuan left, Loki asked Khan if he had ever seen the black dog. Khan explained that he met the dog when he was drunk, fell down, and fell asleep. When he woke up, the dog was staring at him, and that event coincided with the day he was infected. Suddenly, a strange drunk man appeared, demanding to know what the group was talking about. Khan complains about how this person always wants to drink, no matter the situation. The man, who introduced himself as Seth, revealed that he had come to the village only to find alcohol, but ended up getting infected. In a strange move, Seth creepily approached Leecha, lick her fingers, and comment on her appearance. Leecha felt disgusted, and Poki was angry. The painting tried to attack the man, but Loki stopped. Meanwhile, Tao Yuan chats with infected people from Zone 1, and they said that during the trip to transport the village's wine to the market, heavy rain made traveling difficult. Many people were injured, and they decided to stay overnight at the center. While waiting, a giant silhouette of a dog suddenly appeared and looked down at them. Members from Area 1 begin to panic, asking Loki if they are safe. Peter arrives at the scene, and Loki asks him if he knows about the bloody painting, and Peter admitted he did. Loki asks him to reveal where the painting is, but Peter firmly said that he did not know, and that if they wanted to hunt for the painting, they should do it elsewhere. A woman, apparently eavesdropping, notices that Peter is acting shady. The team then decided to synthesize the findings about the epidemic. Khan begged Loki and Leech to take care of Tao Yuan. Leech told Khan that he shouldn't be angry with Tao Yuan because he was only worried about him. Khan recounts how Tao Yuan infiltrated an organization and taught him martial arts. While Cho instructed him on etiquette, they freed him, but the price was Khan losing his leg and Cho losing his life. Now, Tao Yuan fears that he will be alone if something happens to his brother. Khan asked Loki and Leecha to become his brothers like Cho and Khan. Leecha agreed with a slightly embarrassed look, but Loki refused. Leecha decided to go find Tao Yuan. As she walks outside, she meets Shadow Dog, who begs her for help. Loki immediately pulled her back, tried chasing the dog, but it ran away. The next morning, Tao Yuan revealed that he was infected. When Loki asked about the night before, Tao Yuan explained that while he was walking, something pulled him from behind and caused him to faint before feeling pain. The marks on his body matched the injury site. Loki ponders why the dog always appears without causing harm, and wonders if its original nature influences this. Loki explains that the animal is the ivory beast. Picture number 137 has the ability to instantly heal wounds when licked. Loki suggests that all the infected may have been licked without realizing it. Khan arrives and is heartbroken to learn that Tao Yuan has been infected. Tao Yuan jokes about his situation, making Khan angry. Unable to bear it any longer, Khan told Tao Yuan to do whatever he wanted. Tao Yuan, choked up, ran away. Leek tried to give chase, but Loki advised her not to go. Leech then suggested that Loki go find Tao Yuan, believing that he could understand Tao Yuan's feelings. Loki returned to the center. He revealed Aisha's signature on his body to the infected people and asked if anyone else had similar signs, because that person may be the cause of this condition. Meanwhile, Tao Yuan is wandering in the forest. Suddenly met Peter standing next to the black dog. At the temporary camp, a doctor informed Loki that a few days ago, while helping Peter change his clothes, he saw a similar wound just below Peter's neck. Realizing that Tao Yuan had discovered him, Peter immediately ordered the dog to attack. Fortunately, Tao Yuan was able to avoid it, but was still injured. Suddenly, Loki appeared and told Tao Yuan to leave because the smell of his blood made Loki feel uncomfortable. However, Tao Yuan, because he was so depressed, decided not to leave, blaming himself for being helpless when Cho passed away. Loki also remembered feeling helpless when Aisha was attacked and kidnapped, begins to understand Tao Yuan's feelings, as Leecha predicted. Loki then slapped Tao Yuan's face, advising him to regain his reason. Loki advises that if Tao Yuan really wants to fight, he must persevere to the end and never give up. Peter, impatient with their emotional scenes, said he couldn't bear it any longer. Finally, Loki could hear the black dog's silent plea for help. Ask for help to get free. When preparing for battle, Loki reassured the dog that he would burn it until there was nothing left. Back a few years ago, Tao Yuan was just a child completely alone on the streets, without parents or guardians. He was forced to live a life of a crime, specializes in petty theft to get food. After a while, Tao Yuan became very good at this. However, every time he was caught, he was brutally beaten. One day, Tao Yuan stole money from two men on the street. He almost escaped, but was eventually captured and beaten. Despite being beaten, the two men still expressed admiration for Tao Yuan's courage. A boy dared to steal money from adults and almost escaped, which is something not everyone can do. These two were Kan and Chao, who later became Tao Yuan's brothers. Kan admired this petty thief and asked Tao Yuan if he wanted to be their younger brother. Kan and Chao are also no strangers to the streets, as they are members of a criminal organization. They take Tao Yuan to meet the boss, who will decide on his joining the organization. When the boss heard about Tao Yuan's impressive thieving abilities, he quietly accepted him and ordered Kan and Chao to train him. The tycoon has been looking for good gunmen for a long time, and Tao Yuan is the right person. Kan and Chao quickly welcomed Tao Yuan into the family. They knew that to train him well, Tao Yuan had to eat well, and not be as skinny as he was now. However, Tao Yuan did not dare to eat the food they gave him, because he was haunted by the beatings he received when he tried to ask for free food. He was afraid that if he accepted food from Kan and Chao, they would beat him like before. Kan and Chao realized this, quickly explained that they would not hit him, and affirmed that they were brothers now. They said that as brothers they would share with each other, eat from the same plate, and protect each other every night. Hearing that, Tao Yuan felt better and started eating. Sometime later, Tao Yuan's training began. Kan and Chao taught him that, despite his impressive pickpocketing techniques and excellent vision, if he did not know how to blend in with the crowd, he would easily be discovered. To help him fit in, they taught him how to read like an educated person, along with the communication skills needed in society. One special word that Tao Yuan learned was recovery, which means to change from a bad period to a good period. Chao taught him all the techniques and rituals to blend in, while Kan focused on martial arts training for Tao Yuan. It's a strong team. Kan is hot-tempered and strong, while Chao's calm and practical. Tao Yuan is having the best time of his life and hopes that it will never end. Some time passed, Tao Yuan had new brothers and a new boss. The three of them have carried out many successful missions together, but today, the boss needs Tao Yuan's special skills to complete an important mission. There is a new criminal organization in the city called Kurao, and the boss wants to gather information about it. He ordered Tao Yuan to infiltrate this organization, pretending to be a new recruit. Once you have gained trust, Tao Yuan must get the list of members' names and bring it back to the boss. Although the Kurao organization isn't strong in combat, they used to manage casinos, so they certainly have a lot of connections. Kan and Chao are not happy that Tao Yuan is assigned this dangerous mission, but the boss convinces Tao Yuan that this mission will benefit his brothers. So Tao Yuan decided to undertake the mission. A few days later, Tao Yuan met boss Fei Long, head of the Kurao crime organization. Tao Yuan shows off his impressive abilities by stealing some of their weapons. Fei Long was impressed with Tao Yuan because he had outstanding potential compared to other rookies of the same age. Shockingly, Fei Long proves himself to be ruthless when he pulls out a gun and immediately executes the new recruits that Tao Yuan proves he's better at. Fei Long then welcomed Tao Yuan into the Kurao organization. This bloody performance made Tao Yuan realize that he could die at any time at Fei Long's hands. Therefore, Tao Yuan was forced to follow all of Fei Long's instructions, whether it was theft, attack, or blackmail. Tao Yuan does everything to keep Fei Long by his side, still alive. On this fateful day, Fei Long walks with Tao Yuan. Fei Long walks with Tao Yuan. Fei Long warns Tao Yuan to be careful, because those two people belong to the Shui organization, their enemy. Fortunately, the three people didn't have much eye contact, so the boss did not suspect anything. Fei Long suddenly remembered that he had left the pack of cigarettes in the room. He gave the key to Tao Yuan and ordered him to get the medicine. Tao Yuan realized that in Fei Long's room, there was also a safe containing a list of names he needed to retrieve. Tao Yuan didn't think about the consequences if discovered, because in his mind, he only thought about reuniting with his brothers. Unfortunately, Fei Long was still skeptical and only used this as a test. Fei Long caught Tao Yuan betraying him. Several days have passed since Fei Long captured Tao Yuan, and Kan and Chao sensed something was wrong, so they immediately reported the situation to the boss. Contrary to expectations, the boss did not want to save Tao Yuan, and called him a replaceable element that could be eliminated at any time. latest revelation from the tycoon makes us realize that Tao Yuan is just a kid selected for his talent, then thrown away when the situation turns bad. He ordered Khan and Cho to prepare to train another child. After a disappointing meeting with the tycoon, Kan and Cho have a private meeting where they discuss saving Tao Yuan or not. Chu advised caution and restraint, saying careless action could increase hostility between the two organizations. In the end, it might not be safe for them to save Tao Yuan. As usual, Khan did not listen to advice and rushed to save Tao Yuan. Meanwhile, at the Kurao organization, Fei Long is torturing Tao Yuan to find out the secret he revealed. Someone informed Fei Long that the director of the organization came to visit him. Fei Long was surprised by the boss's appearance, and was even more surprised when Kan knocked him unconscious with just one punch. Kan tried to escape with Tao Yuan in a semi-conscious state, but the guards quickly surrounded them. Luckily, Cho appeared on horseback and helped them. The Kurao organization continues to pursue, but Chu insists that he has an escape plan. A moment later, Cho dismounted and told Khan to make sure he and Tao Yuan would continue across the bridge. He reveals that he has planted explosives on the bridge, but someone must stay behind to detonate them, because the rain did not allow them to use detonating wires. Kan refused and wanted to sacrifice himself for Cho, but Cho reveals that someone must be strong enough to carry Tao Yuan to safety. Tao Yuan was now partially awake, and Cho began to say goodbye in tears. He revealed that his sacrifice was to atone for his sins, because he knew Tao Yuan would be tasked with infiltrating, but had no plan to save him. Cho asked Tao Yuan to reform, change, and always keep fighting, and so Cho's brother sacrificed himself to save Tao Yuan's life. Returning to the present, Tao Yuan remembered Cho's words and determined not to give up. Even though Loki didn't want to, Tao Yuan still stood up to fight the monster and launched a powerful attack. However, the creature immediately recovered. Loki asked how much blood it had sucked. Peter confirms that the monster has absorbed a lot of blood and reveals that his actions are only part of his plan. After observing the battle for a while, Tao Yuan realized that Peter was controlling the monster through the painting. The reason the painting can only move at night is because Peter can also only move at night. Peter tried to deny this, but with his excellent eyesight, Tao Yuan saw it all. Meanwhile, the other curators discussed the possibility that Peter is behind the epidemic. They decided to return to headquarters and report the investigation. At the same time, Leash noticed that Kan's condition was deteriorating. Feeling sorry for him, she came to comfort him. As soon as she touched Kenny, something unexpected happened when he completely recovered from his illness. Leisha recalls the moment she was the only one who could move when everyone was frozen in the photo. She encouraged all those affected to touch her for healing. While the battle with the painting was going on, Loki and Tao Yuan attacked at the same time. Tao Yuan quickly held the monster's tongue tightly. Loki immediately cut it off. Peter tries to manipulate the painting to make the monster regain its tongue, but Loki suddenly becomes stronger and more agile when an important part of the painting is destroyed. Finally, Loki attacks the monster and seals the painting. A moment later, an unexpected event occurred when the picture turned black. Kan noticed that his wound had disappeared. While they were examining the sealed painting, they didn't realize that Peter had escaped. Meanwhile, Peter is fully aware that he has sabotaged everything. He meets the other managers in the forest again. The group divided over whether Peter is really the cause of the epidemic. Middle manager Elena comes to save him by killing all those who suspected the organization and opposed Peter. Finally, Loki and Tao Yuan returned. Tao Yuan immediately went to see Khan and apologized for his hasty actions.
Kan expressed his pride in having a younger brother like Tao Yuan.
He advises Tao Yuan to create other friendships and relationships to have a fulfilling life. Meanwhile, Loki informed Leech that he had burned the painting. Leech was a bit sad because he couldn't save the painting, but Loki reveals that he knows the painting wants to be burned to be freed, so they finally rescued it. Meanwhile, Elena reported to the managers that even though the other painting was burned, they found something even more valuable, a painting of a white holy beast. Appears after the final mission. Loki has now returned to Vinculum's area for headquarters. However, Loki has not been completely fine for a while, and this has something to do with Leech. Before, every time I looked at Leech, he had always seen Aisha's vivid image, but it seemed like things had changed a bit. Loki was jolted out of his thoughts when Saxon entered the office. Saxon begins talking about Loki's conflict with Mechanat, and makes it clear that the Vinculum company wants to avoid any public arguments with Mechanat. Fortunately, no letters of complaint were sent to Region 4 headquarters, so Mekhanat may have decided to treat the conflict as if it had never happened. This makes Saxon even more suspicious from his perspective. Loki is now worried about the darkness of the final painting. This makes Saxon even more suspicious from his perspective. Loki is now even more worried about the darkness of the final painting. Everyone knew that the painting would gradually turn to shades of red and black as it progressed, but the nature of the final painting they encountered, involving the Holy Beast ivory, was something never seen before. Loki also recalls that middle manager Peter said that the painting was only part of their plan. This means that having the painting absorb so much blood was not the ultimate goal of Peter and his gang. This is something they need to learn. Saxon reveals that he has found another clue, but this time it does not involve Mekhanat. He asks Loki to go to Doltron's bustling black market, a location quite far from headquarters. Saxon wants Loki to follow up on any reports regarding the paintings, but more importantly, Loki must investigate the leech's appearance. Saxon reveals that he did some research on the box Leech was in while she was a doll. It turns out that this box was not made by any of the craftsmen associated with the Vinculum company. After further research, Saxon recognized the handmade style of this box. Very popular in the Doltron black market, so it is necessary to go there. Saxon's best guess is that the doll may have been put up for auction in Doltron. Saxon also discovered a connection between Leech and the paintings. He had a record of the paintings they had found before the Leech appeared, and, of course, after. Before Leech appeared, they had to spend a lot of effort collecting rumors, compiling data, and predicting models, just to guess where the picture might be. Now, pictures are easy to find. Saxon also reminded Loki of the time he'd lost sight of Leech, but then suddenly found himself in the same place as her. All this evidence points to a single hypothesis. It is the bloody paintings that attract the Leech. Saxon feels that, if this is true, then it would be safer for Loki and the Leech to move than to remain in Area 4 headquarters. He noticed that Loki seemed unfocused, so he asked what the problem was. He noticed Loki was distracted, so he asked what the problem was. Loki reveals that he has thought about Saxon's theory, and it seems reasonable. He shared that every time he was near Leisha, he always felt a vibration in his chest, different from the normal feeling in his throat. This could mean that Loki is attracted to Leech, as she is a painting. Saxon sees an opportunity in this revelation, and he has a theory he wants Loki to test. Meanwhile, Miss Mona interrupted their conversation to announce that lunch was ready. Mona looked around the room and noticed a very old clock that seemed to no longer work. Saxon confirms that the clock is as old as Area 4 itself, and all its gears have stopped working. However, because the watch has been around for so long, it has emotional value to the headquarters. Meanwhile, Loki's words still echoed in Saxon's head. He was quite surprised when this day actually came, when Loki admitted that he was attracted to Leisha. Saxon senses something interesting is happening, and it's not just food in the kitchen.
Meanwhile, at Sacred Mekhanat's headquarters, Elena is questioned about her role in allowing the painting of the Holy Beast ivory to be burned. Her superiors were so angry that they wanted to behead her.
However, Elena announced that the destroyed painting was nothing compared to the discovery she had just made during her recent mission. Sacred Mekhanat clearly understood the specialness of blood paintings. He called them miracles, born from the blood of divine children. If Elena asserted that her recent discovery was more interesting than the precious blood painting, he would certainly feel curious. Elena reveals that she saw the second witch. She said that Leecha canceled the painting's effects with just a light touch. According to her, Leech was the second herb, the one they were waiting for, and the chosen descendant. Sacred Mekhanat admits this is a very interesting discovery, but they need more research to confirm. Elena agreed, and asked to be promoted from middle management to special management. Elena asked permission to perform the ceremony necessary for promotion, the stigmata ceremony.
In Loki's head, Saxon's suggestion kept repeating over and over again. Saxon mentioned the Leech's immunity to the effects of the blood paintings, as well as how the Leech healed illnesses and issues with just a touch. So, Saxon suggested that Loki should try touching the Leech, just a light touch.
Loki was surprised to see Leech cooking in the kitchen. Leecha revealed that she took a cooking class with Mona. She invited Loki to try her dish, but he acted like he didn't need to eat or sleep because he was just a picture. However, Leecha still wanted him to try, and reminded him that he had previously introduced her to a wonderful sandwich and soup. Lecha gave Loki a bowl of hot soup, but just as their hands were about to touch, Loki unconsciously dropped the bowl of food on the floor and ran away. Loki remembers his time with Aisha, when she was always scolded and treated poorly by her boss. The only thing that kept him from hitting her was the fear of wasting precious blood.
When Isia refused to paint, her boss threatened to force her to use her blood to make paintings.
Loki always had to watch Aisha endure everything from her boss, but he couldn't do anything to help her. Aisha always consoled herself that all she wanted was to have him by her side, despite not being able to touch or help. In the end, Loki could only stand and watch without doing anything as Aisha died in sadness. He was filled with regret and helplessness, and from then on he began to feel his purpose like a painting. Loki then buried Aisha on a flower-filled hill that she often looked out of her window. Hatred of humans gradually grew and then turned into indifference. He began to collect information about the paintings, and this amount of information increased considerably when he met Saxon. This is when he meets Lecha, a girl who looks exactly like Aisha. Maybe, just maybe, he should try touching her. Meanwhile, Leech was extremely worried about Loki and went to Saxon to express his concerns. She informed Saxon that Loki had been acting strangely since they returned from their recent mission. Sometimes she saw him standing from afar, looking at her intently, but every time she got closer, he backed away. Saxon knew that it had been exactly 5 days since he suggested Loki try touching the lush. Currently, he's repairing the old watch that Mona mentioned. He revealed that when overworked, things eventually fall apart, whether it's a clock, a person, or even a picture of blood. Saxon said that Loki was exhausted from trying to keep the promise he made to Aisha. Over time, Loki became more and more indifferent to people and life around him. The bloodlust after physical contact didn't help him either. However, Saxon emphasizes that the need for physical contact is essential for both humans and even a painting. Saxon reveals that if anyone can touch Loki without causing side effects, it is Lecha. Lecha understood this message well and immediately ran to find Loki. She found him alone somewhere in town, sat down, and began talking about his need for physical contact. She asked if he longed for contact with her. When she tried to touch him, Loki instinctively stepped back a bit. She realizes that this is because she is exactly like Aisha. Loki, in tears, reveals that he always wanted to touch and comfort her. Slowly, he approached and touched Leech's cheek, felt the warmth of human contact, and realized that she was indeed alive. In the end, Loki and Leech hugged each other, releasing their suppressed emotions. Meanwhile, Elena prepares to perform the ritual to become a special manager. The ritual requires 2 things, a bloody painting and a perfect copy. Although the ritual took a while, Elena persevered and eventually became a special manager. At Area 4 headquarters, things between Loki and Leech have returned to normal. Like old clockwork, Loki informed her of the upcoming trip. Loki plans to go to Doltron, a good opportunity for him to find more paintings, and Leech can find her home again. The Leech did not refuse this offer, and they set out for the Doltron's bustling black market. Loki, Lecha, and Tao Yuan begin their journey to Doltron by land. On the way, Loki remembered his conversation with Saxon, who advised him not to reveal his connection to Vinculum when he arrived in Doltron. Saxon warns that many in Doltron do not agree with Vinculum's arrangements, and that revealing this connection could lead to trouble, because there are potential consequences, especially regarding Area 4. Saxon reminded that the company's involvement in the black market must be kept secret. Saxon also makes an implicit promise that everyone accompanying Loki will take their mission seriously. After a long journey through hot and arid lands, the group finally arrives at Doltron, a city considered the loft of the continent. This city is famous for its black market, where everything that has escaped Vinculum's control, illegal and unethical products, can be traded. The team received a call via PWQ from Saxon, reminding them of their previous discussion and emphasizing the need to find an insider who knew Doltron like the back of his hand. However, Saxon is concerned that people involved in illegal transactions will not easily talk to them. He added that these people may run away if they find out someone is investigating their affairs. For this reason, Saxon advised Loki to dye his hair to avoid being noticed, but Loki only replied that the cloak would be enough to hide his identity. While walking around the city, Taoyuan commented that the city seemed quieter than what the rumors said, contrary to his expectations of a noisier and busier place. Saxon then announced that according to rumors, The D5 region leaders had begun meeting to establish new rules. Even so, this city is still a dirty place, and he warns the group to pay attention to keeping Licha safe. However, when Taoyuan and Loki turned to look at Leech, they found that she had disappeared among the crowd. The two immediately called out her name, while Leech was also hastily searching for them in the crowd. Suddenly, she saw a group of men running towards her, seemingly chasing someone or something. And without realizing it, they pushed Lish away, causing her to fall to the ground. Just then, a woman approached, saying that it felt like Licha wasn't from here, and it seemed like she had seen her somewhere. She bent down, offered her hand to help Licha up, and asked her name. However, as soon as she touched the leech, the woman immediately turned into a man. The man was surprised by the sudden change, and didn't understand why his transformation had lost its effect. Licha took this opportunity to ask the man about the scarf he was wearing, whether it was a cursed painting. The man was surprised by Licha's knowledge and realized he could no longer hide it from her. Licha then explains that she has the ability to block the effects of the curse. Hearing that, the man immediately asked if she could reverse it. While the two were chatting, the angry crowd pushed Licha away again, and this time they finally realized the man was the one they were chasing. Understanding that I have been discovered, the man named Harry quickly pulled Licha away, ran, and apologized for the surprise. He explains that his transformation should have lasted longer, and then asks the leech's name. After she answered, Harry immediately declared that from now on, she would be his teammate. Licha cried out in panic, begging him to let her go. He warns her not to scream, reminding her that she might bite her tongue if she does. The group of people chasing Harry quickly approached. While running, Leech finally saw Loki and called his name. Harry was surprised to see Loki appear in the city, and immediately took advantage of the opportunity to cause a ruckus by shouting that red-haired Loki was here. Hearing Loki's name, the crowd panicked and ran away without seeing him. During the chaos, Loki chased after Harry, demanding he release the leech. Harry glanced at Loki and wondered if he was also interested in Leech. He then declares that if Loki wants to see her again, he must continue chasing. While Loki continued to chase, then Taoyuan was captured by an angry mob because they thought he was related to Loki, and they dragged him away. Harry continued running around the city. A group of people approached him and asked why he was being chased. At this time, Harry replied that someone was chasing him. When the crowd turned to see who was chasing Harry, they immediately recognized Loki's signature red hair. Anger flared up. They armed and shouted that Loki had no right to enter the city after all these years, and their resentment still ran deep. They declared he would pay for his crimes. However, Loki did not mind the threats. He quickly defeated all of them with a single swing of his weapon. Licha worriedly asked Harry if all those people knew Loki. He explains that in this city, everyone knows the red-haired Loki, the ghost painting. Loki threw the weapon at Harry, but he was lucky to avoid it. Finally, Loki cornered Harry in a dead-end alley. Loki orders Harry to bring Leech back, but instead, Harry kicks an air duct, causing black smoke to begin pouring out, blurring Loki's vision. Harry immediately threw Luckage away, but Loki caught up with her. However, Loki started acting strangely, asking Leech if her beautiful face was damaged. He walked forward and touched her face. Loki instantly transformed into Harry. This reveals that Leech's kidnapper is actually Harry, in his false form, not the real Loki. At that moment, Harry realized that his illusion only disappeared when he touched the Leech's skin. In a rage, Loki warned Harry that he would burn him to ashes. But Harry, surprisingly, wasn't scared at all, just laughed and continued running. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Taoyuan is taken to a mob. The head of the mob explains that they need his help to capture Harry, whom they describe as a relentless troublemaker. They claim that Harry became more violent after obtaining a cursed painting. They describe Harry as a relentless troublemaker. They claim that Harry became more violent after obtaining a cursed painting. The old man then showed Taoyuan a miniature model of Doltrone, explains that they are renovating areas of the city, and this model represents the new look of Doltrone in the future. He also said that with the strong rise of Vinculum in recent years, the black market is gradually losing its foothold. Horsehead Company has established nationwide agreements to strengthen its network. Furthermore, they received an offer from Vinculum, but their plans for a small, clean market did not align with Horsehead's vision. On the other hand, the Divine Art Fund has made another proposal, a large sum of money to demolish and rebuild the decaying city of Doltron. In contrast to Vinculum's narrow approach, The Sacred Art Foundation appears to be more flexible in its approach. However, Harry is a threat to their negotiations with the Foundation. He tricked them by pretending to be Bella Seductor and claimed ownership of painting number 137, the Clown's Scarf. This scarf allows him to transform into the person it covers. The large group also explained to Tao Yuan that in the past, if they were lucky, someone could become rich overnight. However, about 60 years ago, Loki suddenly appeared and destroyed all the cursed paintings in Dultrone. The members of the black market could not accept a stranger meddling in their work, and they fought back in every way possible. But the results were not smooth, as Loki reduced one of the city's 6 districts to ash. Since then, cursed paintings have become a taboo subject. The large group promises to give the painting to Tao Yuan if he captures Harry for them. But Tao Yuan demands to see the auction records first. Back in the city's busy marketplace, passers-by continued to chase after Loki, while Harry happily watched, still clutching the leech in his arms. Leecha tries to get him to release her, but instead he says he wants to show her something beautiful. Leecha then asks why Harry enjoys causing discomfort to Loki and the people of Dultrone so much. He admitted that it simply made him happy. Leecha went on to ask if he gave the bloody painting just out of interest. Harry begins to explain that his parents hate him because he is not like them. His father did not want to recognize him as his biological son, and so his mother also hated him. It was then that he found a cursed painting that allowed him to become someone else, saving him when his father lost his mind and tried to kill him. As a result, he fled to Dultrone. Leecha started to feel sorry for Harry, but he suddenly burst out laughing and confessed that he had made up the whole story. The real reason behind his actions, according to him, was simply to find fun and had nothing to do with his past. Harry explains that he is just someone in the shadows, unknown to anyone. To combat that, he uses the cursed painting to destroy these unhappy projects. Furthermore, Harry expressed his intention to confront injustice and arrogance with a loud bang, and laughed loudly as he emphasized that Dultrone was inherently a city of freedom and chaos. Harry confesses to Leech that his transformations often take a long time to complete. However, with Leech by his side, he could transform back at any time, and that was why he needed her as his partner. In return, Leecha reveals that she came to Dultrone in hopes of recovering her memories. She once passed Dultrone while she was sleeping. Harry jumped up and down with excitement and declared that he was right about her looking familiar. He went on to talk about her owner, who bought her at the auction house 13 months ago, emphasizing that she is a famous doll. Leech is surprised to hear that she used to be a doll. Harry also added that if the scarf could change his appearance, then maybe she was a doll that had come to life. However, he wondered if this meant that the leech was also a cursed painting. Confusion seemed to overwhelm Leech. She stiffened in shock as she realized this information was too difficult to take in. Harry then asked if she was okay, and when he tried to touch her, Loki appeared, ordering Harry not to touch the leech. Later, he comes to confront Harry about what he did to her, even though Harry tried to joke around. Loki drew his sword and pointed it at him, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. Amid the tension, a giant creature suddenly appeared in the city, moving towards Loki and Harry. With just one powerful sweep of its giant arm, the creature sent Loki flying far away. What was even more surprising was that, after a few seconds, someone gradually appeared from the monster's body. To everyone's surprise, that person was Elena, who appeared with a crazy smile and greeted Loki with a good morning. Loki immediately wondered which cursed painting had created this monster.
He noticed the creature's unbalanced shape, its sturdy shell, and initially thought it might be painting number 104, Knight's protective armor, possibly concealing the truth about the bearer. However, Loki quickly corrected his guess when he realized this was a unique type of painting that could blend into the human body. He realized this painting must be of a messenger dressed in black. At that moment, Tao Yuan appeared and wondered about the identity of this mysterious woman. Elena found it interesting that Loki seemed to care so much about Leecha. She asks what would happen if she found the leech before Loki did. Loki sternly warns Elena not to touch the leech. Elena, with a frantic voice, thanked him for the expression on his face, but what she really wanted was to see his face distorted by pain. She went on to say that returning to Dultrone City made her recall old memories, and she didn't think she would return here. Elena wondered if this was fate. Loki, confused, asked what she was talking about. Elena replied that if he didn't remember, she would help him refresh his memories. Without hesitation, she attacked Loki with the monster's tail, immediately followed by a powerful punch that sent Loki flying through several buildings. After the attack, Elena continued to say that she would never forget Loki taking something precious from her, and she will never forgive him. She explains that as long as the bloody paintings contain blood, they can regenerate, regardless of the frame being damaged. However, if they run out of health, they are left with a normal picture. Therefore, she affirmed that she would kill him many times if necessary. Meanwhile, Taoyuan continues to pursue Harry, repeatedly begging him to release the leech. But Harry quickly escaped and hid with Leech in a secret place. Taoyuan continues to search for Harry and Leech. In the hiding place, Leech kicked Harry's leg, causing him to loosen his grip. She quickly took advantage of the opportunity to escape. As she ran, she apologized for having to go. After a while of running, she slowed down as thoughts of whether or not she really was a cursed painting returned to her mind. Leecha wonders if she can be with Loki after knowing the truth about herself. Harry quickly caught up with her and asked why she wasn't running anymore. He tried to convince her by mentioning his handsome appearance, good health, and agility despite his age. Noticing the sad look on Leisha's face, Harry asked her what she was worried about. Leisha asked him again if she really was a doll and being a cursed painting meant she couldn't be with Loki. What should she do? Harry suggested that she stay in Dultrone with him, but she refused. He asked why she cares so much about Loki. Leisha thought and wondered if she wanted to be with Loki, or because ever since she opened her eyes, she felt empty until she saw Loki. The sadness in his eyes caught her attention. She admitted that despite having no memories before waking up, Loki's pain-filled eyes were still imprinted in her memory. At first she was scared, but as she got to know Loki better, she began to think about how she could help and support him. Even though her presence reminded him of Aisha and caused him pain, Loki asked her to accompany him on this journey. Loki also hugged Leecha, even though his body is cold as ice, but she still felt as if she could get close to him. Leech's story brought back an old memory in Harry's mind when he first came to Dultrone, feeling despair and tears. At that moment, a noble woman approached him, asking him if anything was wrong and if he was a newcomer. She also warned that if Harry kept crying like that, he would become an easy target for the robbers. Harry admitted that he thought about ending his life, feeling that his existence was just an embarrassment to those around him. The woman smiled and asked why he cared about other people's opinions in a city that had been abandoned by fate like this. She asked how he could bother with that in a place like Dultrone, a city of freedom and chaos. Harry then tells Leash that she does not need to convince herself that she needs Loki's permission to be with him. This is Dultrone, a city of freedom and chaos where she can decide her own life. He gently advised her to hold her head high and suggested that they prepare a welcoming party for the uninvited monster. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, it seems that Elena has defeated Loki to the point that his whole body is covered in blood. She wondered how many more times she would have to kill him before he turned back into a lifeless picture like before. Elena confronts Loki about his survival without drinking blood. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, it seems that Elena has defeated Loki to the point that his whole body is covered in blood. She wondered how many more times she would have to kill him before he turned back into a lifeless picture like before. Elena confronts Loki about his survival without drinking blood. Elena smiled and said she came at the right time. Loki immediately warned Elena not to touch the leech, but she threw him away. Elena orders Loki to stand still and watch from afar. Loki shouted for Leecha to run away. Elena swung her hand to attack Leecha, but she skillfully dodged and quickly ran away. Elena chased after him nonstop. Meanwhile, suddenly a shell hits the building near Elena, causing it to collapse. The person behind this attack is the gang leader. He ordered his soldiers to put their cannons into position to attack the trapped monster, and they immediately obeyed, firing continuously without wasting time to reload. The gang leader explains to his subordinates that when the cursed paintings run out of health, or their owners die, they will turn into normal paintings. He emphasized that this is a long war, ordered to continue to the second round and not give the monster time to recover. Leecha rushed towards Loki to help him up, but as soon as she got close, the monster reappeared from the ruins, continuing to chase her. Elena realizes that she and her monster have attracted all the attention, but warns that if they want to defeat her, they will have to try harder. Suddenly, Elena used one of the monster's giant tentacles to stab Leash from behind, creating a large wound on her body. Loki stood there helpless, watching the leech being attacked without being able to intervene. and rage rose within him. He remembered all the memories he shared with Leech, mainly the moments when she laughed and felt like something inside him suddenly broke. The monster was attacked by artillery again, but it immediately recovered. Loki stood up from the ground, slowly walking towards Leecha, who was almost dying. Elena was surprised to see that Loki still had enough strength to move. When Loki grabbed the leech, a wave of despair overwhelmed him, and a black aura radiated from his body, making the surrounding air heavy. His body suddenly changed. He turns into a dangerous cursed painting, a monster. Meanwhile, the Sacred Art Organization focuses on capturing Leech, who is currently imprisoned in a box, while all attention is focused on Loki and the battle in which he completely transforms, confronting the monsters created by the cursed painting, turning him into a monster version of himself. While fighting, Loki realized that in his mind there was always an image that would never leave him. That's the great similarity between Leecha and Aisha. Even though she had the same voice, facial expressions, and some habits, for him, this was not a good thing. He would rather not see anything that reminded him of Aisha than see her face in the leech when he was carrying out Aisha's last wish. Then a fierce battle broke out between the monster and Loki, to the point that people around described it as a war between real monsters, driven by a desire to kill and destroy. And yes, devastation occurred. For the people of Dultrone, war is not a pleasant thing to witness, because everything has been completely destroyed and there is no sign of ending anytime soon. People are worried about Dultrone's future, but an old man working for the Sacred Art Foundation reassures them that the organization will destroy the old city of Dultrone, and informs them that the cursed paintings attack will help the city receive support. Finance from the organization. Suddenly, Taoyuan rushed forward, along with the bird creature from the cursed painting, and headed towards Leecha. Curious citizens watched while he tried to reach Leecha and confirm her safety. Then the two walked towards Loki. Leecha expressed concern about Loki's condition, while Tao Yuan curiously asked her why she was hiding in the box. Leecha explains that Harry advised her to hide there because the area had become too dangerous. After advising and forcing her to hide in the box, Harry said he would be right back, adding that he just wanted to play with Loki for a bit. On the way to Loki, they suddenly discovered Harry was seriously injured, almost dead, but it was unclear who caused this. Leecha felt scared and shocked. With the last of his strength, Harry called her name, apologizing for letting her see him in this state. When Leesh asked why he did that, Harry simply replied that he did it because he wanted to. Harry continued, advising her to go see Loki, and decided to stay with him. In his words, no matter what her goal was, or whether she died peacefully, and no matter how people despised her for it, the most important thing was to be steadfast. That's the only way to live life to the fullest. Soon, Harry's associates appeared to care for and treat him. Before parting ways, Harry urges Leech to move towards Loki and show him she is safe and well. Harry continued to encourage Leech, saying that the first step is always the hardest, even though he had a hole in his stomach. Unfortunately, his colleagues did not completely agree with that point of view. The partner regretted not tying up Leech when she was used as bait. He also asked Harry why he participated in this conflict, and questioned whether he would accept the destruction of the city of Dultrone.
With a sarcastic tone, the person said that Dultrone had deteriorated over the years to the point where it was now impossible to drink clean water. This place has become a dusty land, and the people who live there are no different. To find out what is truly important in this crowd becomes a journey worth risking your life. Harry asks his partner Liza what the plans are for Dultrone in the meantime. Suddenly, a man working for the Sacred Dharma Arts Foundation interjected, asking Liza if the biggest barrier to Dultrone's reconstruction was gradually disappearing. He realized that the deal with the organization had put Harry and Dultrone in a difficult position. Liza disagreed with him, ordered the suspension of all negotiations with the Sacred Dharma Arts Organization. Trying to convince Liza to change her decision, the man angrily asked her if she'd lost her mind. But Liza explained that she had thought a lot and now felt skeptical and insecure about entrusting Dultrone's fate to this organization. The man did not stop at persuasion. He went on to say that with the support of the Sacred Arts Foundation, the Dultrone market, where efficiency and productivity are declining, will regain vitality. For old people like them, it would be a wonderful outcome while waiting for death to come. However, Liza doesn't waver, asking if Dultrone will lose his soul. And the answer is an emphatic yes. This city is a refuge for the delinquent, the rejected, the socially excluded. This city is full of marginalized people. If Doltron falls into the hands of the organization, all the marginalized and those rejected by society will have nowhere to call home. When these people leave, they will pave the way for respectable people and be accepted by the conservative class. This will cause Doltron to no longer be Doltron. She also feels uncomfortable letting clean-mouthed people who have never experienced difficulties in their lives, write a new chapter for this city. Liza is determined not to give up Doltron's lifestyle just for a little fake prosperity. Liza calls on the people of Doltron to join her in exterminating the monsters, and reminds that elsewhere, Doltron and his people are known as the Attic of the continent. Meanwhile, Elena is still in the monster's body, but this time, her wounds take a lot of time to heal and recover, probably because she used too much blood. Her pain increased to an unbearable level, causing her immense pain, even though Elena knew it would be better to retreat. But Seth controlled her and ordered her not to run away. She has to get used to her new body, the monster. When Elena was about to be torn apart by the monster, Tao Yuan promptly appeared and defeated Loki. Asked why even though he won, Loki still looked like a monster. In her last moments of consciousness, Elena realizes who saved her. The person who saved her was the man wearing handcuffs, Tao Yuan. However, she could not consider herself completely safe, as Loki was still angry in monster form nearby. Tao Yuan tried to stop Loki, but was unable to prevail or control the monster. In desperation, Tao Yuan called Loki's name, telling him that Liche was still alive and safe. Hearing that, and seeing the leech alive and well, seemed to have an effect on Loki, causing his attacks to gradually stop. Liche felt confused, curious, and scared as she wondered what was happening to Loki. The creature from the nearby blood painting explains, maybe Loki is trapped in an endless cycle of regeneration. Although Loki is an expert in reincarnation, even this creature cannot predict what will happen to him. Suddenly, a hysterical Loki reaches out towards Leech and tries to attack her, proving that he is truly no longer himself. Tao Yuan quickly took Leech out of Loki's reach, while the citizens attack from afar without mercy. The fight caused a large building in the area to collapse, put Saxon and the bird from the blood painting, Pokyu, in danger. The leech looked wider and realized that this destruction and killing would never be accepted by Loki or the witch Aisia. Remembering Harry's advice, Leecha decided to bravely take the first step. She walked towards the monster Loki and hugged him, begging him to return to her. In the spirit state, she met Loki crying and sad, not wanting to face anything anymore. For if Aisha or Lich died, he would not be able to bear it. Loki recalls the moments he and Aisha shared, from reading picture books together at night to counting every brick in the tower. Aisha encouraged him to open his eyes and see reality, even when his emotions wanted him to close his eyes. She reminds him that if Loki continues to close his eyes, Aisha's image and voice will disappear forever. Hearing this, Loki, still in love with Aisha, decided to open his eyes and regain control of his body, causing the monster to fade and disappear. He returned to the arms of those who loved him. Before continuing the story, let's review the main characters who have appeared. Witch Aisia, a girl who possesses the ability to create miracles when drawing with her blood. Her legacy was passed down to one of her creations, Loki. Loki, the main character, born from Aisha's blood paintings. He has wandered the world for more than a century to fulfill Aisha's last wish, to destroy all of her bloody paintings. Licha, a girl with the same appearance and abilities as Aisha, but has lost her memories and is currently assigned to Group 4 of the Vinculum Company. Regarding the members of Vinculum Group of 4 companies, we have Saxon, leader of Group 4. Tao Yuan, Leitia, a member who joined after 10 years of living in sin as a pickpocket, has now repented and wears handcuffs as a form of atonement, although sometimes the handcuffs are absent effect. Nalevi, a member who assists Saxon in collecting blood paintings but has a hidden motive to search for someone. Mona, not an official member of Group 4, but supports the group under Saxon's leadership. Finally, it is impossible not to mention the Sacred Arts Foundation, where Seth is the curator. Take control of Elena, a second-rate curator with a strong desire to make Loki pay for his past actions. Besides, important characters such as Harry and Liza Membrane, the leaders of Doltron's regions, also play important roles in the story. Back to the story at Group 4 headquarters, Loki and the rest, especially since the connection between the parties was lost. They had no choice but to wait for Pokyu to wake up, hoping to receive good news. In the meantime, they can only hope for the best. Meanwhile, Loki reunites with Leech. She hugged him tightly with enthusiasm. Loki realized his body no longer had the strength, but felt the warmth of Leech's embrace. However, he tried to understand why he couldn't move. This experience reminded him of Saxon's clear desire to find something that would give him a reason to continue living and appreciate life. For Loki, the bond and affection he has with Leech is exactly that. Suddenly, the people of Doltron surrounded them, realizing Loki was weak and considered this a golden opportunity to end everything with him. But suddenly, Lisa ordered them to stop and gave Loki the cursed painting along with the auction records. Loki and his team had finally found what they needed. Liza then asked Loki and the rest to take the items and leave the city. However, the doubts are not over yet. Somewhere in the infirmary, where Harry was being treated, Seth appeared. The doctors had difficulty stopping the bleeding, and Harry's breathing grew weaker and weaker. Seth approached the doctors, and when questioned, he almost revealed his true intentions. His mission is to bring Elena's body back, but under the guise of responding to an emergency call. To distract the doctors, Seth did something unexpected and extremely strange. He held a flower and asked if its color was beautiful. While the doctors were confused and distracted, Seth used his power to save Harry from death. When treatment is complete, the doctors regained their attention and were surprised to see that Harry could breathe again. This makes them wonder what really happened and how Harry escaped death. With this cover-up, Seth asked the doctors to allow him to take Elena away. He continued to take responsibility for all the trouble that had occurred and admitted that the Thangye Foundation was truly behind everything. Seth asked to take Elena away for questioning, but before the doctors could answer, Harry stood up and asked why Seth saved him. Seth replied that he only saved Harry because of a whim, but joked that he could send him a hospital bill if Harry felt the need. Harry, curious and wary, also asked if Seth wanting to take the girl away was also his hobby. Seth replied in a threatening tone, asking if Harry was sure he wanted to know more. Before the situation became more tense, the people of Doltron, led by Lisa, visited Harry. Everyone was surprised to see Harry awake and standing up, but still happy. However, Liza was stunned to see a curator like Seth present with the doctors in the room. Immediately, she asked Seth to leave if he had only come to bestow favors on the people. Lisa also announced that she would cancel the agreement with the Thangye Foundation. Hearing this, Seth denied responsibility in the entire story and warned that if the city chose to cancel the contract, they would have to pay a fine. Gizrun, one of the most vocal supporters of the Saint Nangye Fund, added to the debate that paying the fine would be almost impossible, especially since the amount of money needed to rebuild Doltron is so large. Suddenly, Harry agreed to take responsibility for paying the fine, making everyone in the room both relieved and surprised. Harry goes on to say that Doltron's weeds will continue to grow until the roots are destroyed. Liza, with sincere concern, reminded him that Harry could not afford to pay such large fines, and there's no need to shoulder all the responsibilities alone. But Harry remembered the time she said, "In Doltron, you can do anything you want, as long as you have the spirit. As long as you have the spirit." Meanwhile, Tao Yuan is happy that Loki has recovered, proudly saying that he has convinced Loki. He also added that Loki was lucky that he was the one who fought Loki, because if it had been anyone else, Loki would have been killed in self-defense. Tao Yuan suggested that the group rest in the next village before continuing their journey. However, before that happens, Loki asked Leech to give him the cursed painting so he could burn it immediately. Suddenly, Harry appeared and greeted Leech freely, while Loki became more and more suspicious. Harry felt it and reassured Loki. Loki explains that he only came here for peaceful purposes to negotiate. Harry reveals that he really likes Loki. And remember the day Loki destroyed an entire neighborhood 60 years ago when he first arrived. At that time, Harry was still a boy. Harry found it ironic to see someone who lived longer than the normal lifespan, always worrying about how others perceived him. The creepy feeling from the first meeting made him decide that he wanted to live like that. He told Loki that he wanted to do business with him. Next, Harry offered to return the scarf to Loki for 3 million. Currently, what Doltron needs most is money to recover, but people here do not even have enough money to pay medical fees and fines for canceling the contract with the fund. This money will be used very carefully. Loki curiously asked if Harry would really give up his partner for money. Harry explains that money is just a secondary thing. If it were me, I would never give this scarf to anyone, no matter how much they pay. I do this because I don't have much time left. And I don't want the scarf to find a new owner after I die. I want to be the last person to keep the memories of this bloody picture. If it falls into the hands of a new owner, it will likely be abused. So I want the last memories of it to be the silly things we did together, especially since Loki is going to burn that painting. Harry revealed that he wanted to witness the scarf's final moments. The scarf always comforts its wearer, encouraging the crying person by showing them what their face would look like if they smiled, as if saying, "Look, that smile is more beautiful than tears." Loki also remembers when Isaiah made this scarf before it was picked up by someone. She hoped that its owner would become an irreplaceable friend, like Loki was to her, and they will take good care of it. The bloody painting, titled Juster's Handkerchief, the 123rd painting, will see its last moments, when it was sealed by Loki in the name of Aisha. However, another unexpected event in this series of episodes happened, surprising everyone. In the blink of an eye, Seth appeared among them and captured Licha, whom he had been tracking for a long time. Tao Yuan quickly recognized him as a member of the Sacred Art Foundation, causing the group to immediately be on guard. Seth, with a cruel tone, told Leech that he missed her very much. When the others tried to approach him, Seth warned them not to move, threatening torture if they disobeyed. Seth reveals that Leech interests him, and he wants to take her back to him. With a strange tone, he asked her if she realized that she was thicker than before. This angered Loki, and he immediately reacted. When Loki rushed towards Seth to save Leech, Seth warns him not to move. After this conversation, Seth decided that if Leech stayed with Loki a little longer, it seemed more beneficial to him, and so he left her temporarily, promised to come back soon to pick her up. When Licha escaped danger, people immediately surrounded her, worriedly asking if she was injured. Loki is the most caring person. He told her not to leave him again. At that point, the connection with the bird creatures returned, and Saxon and his companions were able to contact them again. Licha admits that even though she may be a bloody painting, with no memories before waking up, and her ability to block the power of paintings proves it, she still feels happy to be around her. Loki reassures her not to worry, saying she's not a cursed painting, and he also reminded himself that she was not Aisha. Despite this, Loki assured Leech that he wanted to be with her. This surprised and reminded him of the first time he met Loki. After learning that Loki's nickname was the Ghost Painting, Saxon understood the meaning of that name. Loki is like a ghost, quiet, trusting no one, and living on a vague promise. Having spent time with Loki, Saxon worries about him and hopes Loki will find a reason to continue living. Back in the present, Loki and his group made an agreement and began thinking about their next destination. Auction records are filled with valuable information, and their next destination is the Paccio family, a family of explorers who specialize in treasure hunting but rarely stay in one place. To find them, Loki must track down their customers, and the first person he needs to find is a young noble, intellectual-looking named Snow Lopez. Poku firmly believes that their current location is Namito, an eastern city where a branch of the Sacred Art Foundation is located. The Foundation's headquarters are located in the center of the continent, but to deploy personnel to other regions, they have established many local branches. These branches are accepted up to 90% in regions, ensure the effective and widespread operation of their mandate. The Sacred Art Foundation not only provides free medical services, but is also a dedicated guardian, overseeing many groups and providing shelter. This organization radiates confidence, warns that causing trouble here is not advisable, and advises people to exercise caution when trying to navigate the fund's complex operations. This city is full of conservatives. Loki warns Licha not to go too far, and accidentally comes across an advertisement for a seemingly dangerous man. When meeting a young boy, Licha was curious and wanted to ask for information about Mr. Snow Lopez and received a positive response. The boy confirmed that Mr. Lopez was indeed the son of the city's governor, and plays a key role in the internal operations of Namitalshel, part of the Sacred Art Foundation. The boy quickly left to go to work, leaving the group with valuable information about Snow Lopez being a conservative. Loki took in this new information and thought about his next move. When they entered the Namito branch, a friendly receptionist greeted them and offered assistance with medical care and accommodation. Different from usual requests, the group expressed their desire to meet Mr. Snow Lopez. The receptionist quickly asked if they had an appointment, and the group representative admitted that they did not have an appointment. The receptionist said Mr. Lopez was currently touring the headquarters and would not return for the next 3 days, suggesting that they should return then. The group leaves, wondering if they are in a tight spot. Unexpectedly, they met the boy from before. He recognized them and revealed that he worked here. He invited them to dine at his restaurant and asked someone to prepare a table for 3 people. During the meal, a slip of the tongue revealed that Mr. Snow had been adopted by the Lopez family 2 years ago. Rumor has it that he comes from a noble family and has been appointed head of the regional branch. Under his leadership, law and order were maintained, and tourism flourished. However, there is a lot of curiosity about his recent recall to headquarters, especially in light of the ongoing murders. Tao Yutan almost spat out his food when he heard about these murders. The person sharing the information realized that he might be speaking to people who didn't know about these cases, so he quickly explained further. During the past 3 nights, someone has attacked passersby. The victim was stabbed from behind, but paradoxically, the body was drained of blood. Tao Yuan asked if the killer was the person in the wanted poster, and the informant confirmed that, yes, it was the suspect. According to him, the person in the advertisement ran away after stabbing a noble who sponsored the foundation. The person sharing the information also said that the traveler is currently on the foundation's premises because there are no hotels in Namito. Accommodation at the foundation is free, so there's no need for a hotel. And however, this is not good news for Loki's group, as it means they will have to sleep right in the enemy's lap. The previously innocent boys suggested that they could stay at his house if they wanted. Licha was excited about this invitation, and the boy assured him that the offer was still available. However, the boy reminded them that when their shift was over, they could find ways to entertain themselves. Meanwhile, Saxon is immersed in research. He remembered his earlier conversation with Loki, when Loki had mentioned the possibility of people being able to transform into terrifying shapes with cursed paintings. Loki says that, from all indications, Elena from the Sacred Art Foundation appears to be the one who has been merged with a cursed painting. Even the person who came to pick her up was filled with darkness. It seems that this organization is collecting paintings to carry out a larger plan. As he continued reading, Saxon discovered that the organization had been dissolved when the Heritage Guardians took up arms to protect the Tower of Babel and its cultural heritage. The news that they had secured Bob Hill shocked Saxon. Decided to go to the Central Library before lunch. Meanwhile, Loki's group tries to contact Saxon and Mona without success. The boy invited them to stay, introducing himself as Revel. Loki's group responded by introducing themselves. Revel asked Leech if Taoyuan and Loki are criminals or not, expressed concern that they may not have the Sacred Arts Foundation's best interests at heart. Licha immediately defended his friends, explaining that they were just travelers in trouble. Taoyuan notices the friendliness between Licha and Revel, commenting that it's good to see Licha have a friend of the same age. This caught Loki's attention. Taoyuan jokingly asked if Loki felt jealous when he saw Licha making new friends with Revel. They soon arrived at Revel's house. Little Revel lives with his grandmother, who he says doesn't like interacting with strangers. Even though the conversation was quite interesting, Loki decided to go out and search for those who attacked the city. He told Taoyuan to stay and watch over Leech, and reminded Lich that if anything was wrong, to scream. As Loki left, Revel asked Licha if they should follow Loki, but Licha decided not to. Instead, she suggested that they wash the dishes together. While washing the dishes, Leech asked Revel why he was so hospitable. Revel shared that it was a promise he made to his grandmother, that he would always be kind to everyone. Revel talked about his past. His family used to be circus artists.
And one fateful day, a fire broke out, claiming the lives of everyone except him and his grandmother. Sadly, Mrs. Revel was severely affected by the fire and now rarely goes out.
Revel hopes that bringing tourists home can help her open up more. Meanwhile, Loki discovered that the conservatives in the city didn't have much valuable information, nor did the village of Ishus. While walking on the road, Loki encountered the killer and decided to follow him. After witnessing a new murder, Loki catches up and discovers that the killer is the person on the wanted poster. Loki questioned him if he was a spy for the Sacred Arts Organization, but the man appeared angry and rejected the comparison, even calling those people stupid people. The man created a powerful fire spell. Reminds Loki of painting number 133 called Fire Rat's Fire Gauntlet, although this person's fire was much stronger. While the battle was going on, the man commented that the red-haired man, referring to Loki, was weaker than he expected. The surprise is that he reveals that he is not the recent killer, but is trying to catch the real killer. Before Loki could ask further, he said meaningfully that before Loki looked towards the moon, he should know that he would be the one to finish Loki, and then left. As the man disappeared, Loki reflected on the slow recovery from his wound and felt dizzy, making him wonder what was happening to him. At Revel's house, Leech thought Loki had returned when she heard footsteps, but what she saw was a beautiful creature that Revel called She. Leecha rushed to find Tao Yuan, who was also surprised to see Revel's grandmother. Despite everyone's surprise, Revel happily introduced his grandmother to Tao Yuan. Noticing Revel's delay, she advised everyone to go to sleep and informed Leecha and Tao Yuan that she would talk to them the next morning. When Loki returned, Revel's grandmother finally revealed the truth. She confesses that she is actually a cursed painting. This explains her strange appearance. During the fire, she became Revel's possession in place of his grandmother, who had passed away. Originally, she was a cursed painting with the ability to mimic voices, recreating the voices that Revel's grandmother used in circus performances. When asked why she hid the truth from Revel, she explained that she had lived with the temptation to drink blood for many years, but had previously given in to satisfy her unquenchable thirst. However, she did not want to continue living like that anymore, and begged Loki to turn her into ashes, hoping to die as a human. Her final request was to be freed from her cursed life. Meanwhile, Tawan meets with Saxon and gives him a detailed report on recent events, including Loki not feeling well, the truth about Revel's grandmother being a cursed painting, and discovered that Snow Lopez is a conservative. Taiwan also informed Saxon about the funeral plans for the cursed painting. This painting decided to hide the truth from Revel, so she wanted to leave in a familiar human form that Revel still recognized. After listening, Saxon decided to ask Mona to investigate the rituals in the area, temporarily putting the current case aside. Meanwhile, Loki continues to feel dizzy since leaving Doltrone. This causes Saxon to speculate whether this is a side effect of the transformation. At the same time, Leecha arrived at Revel's workplace and informed about his grandmother's deteriorating health condition. Revel took a leave of absence from work and hurried home with Leech, overwhelmed with emotion as he saw his grandmother become weaker. Revel's grandmother gave him a whistle to wear as a pendant around his neck. She reassured him that if he needed help, just blow that whistle, and it would become a symbol of her eternal presence by his side. Revel sat by her hospital bed until Tao Yuan intervened, reminding him that the manager would arrive soon. However, she refused the manager's help, saying she didn't need it. She revealed that this would be the last time she would see everyone. In a touching moment, she advises Revel to be a good boy and take care of himself, because now he will have to shoulder more. Although Revel struggles to accept this is their last meeting, he finally faced that truth. Meanwhile, Loki, Leecha, and Tao Yuan's group discuss funeral plans for Revel's grandmother. They discussed the local custom of burning corpses immediately to prevent the entry of bad spirits. To carry out their plan, they decided to pretend to burn the body before Loki burned the cursed painting to ashes. In the middle of the discussion, the man in the wanted advertisement suddenly appeared and ruthlessly tries to reveal the truth about Revel's grandmother is a cursed painting. Loki quickly intervened and realized that when he came into contact with this man, he didn't feel the usual bloodlust. This makes Loki doubt whether the man is also a cursed painting. In response, the man calmly said that it didn't matter, since Loki's mission was to destroy cursed paintings after all, so he could be added to that list. Revel witnessed what he thought was his grandmother's cremation. He remembered the first time his grandmother gave him the whistle when he was a child, unable to take care of himself. Too sad, he burst into tears when he realized that his grandmother was truly gone forever. The man in the wanted poster looked annoyed with Loki's growing attachment to someone he considered someone he hated. Loki asserts that his main goal is still to destroy the cursed paintings, and the other man has no right to interfere with his other duties. While the wanted man begins to enjoy this confrontation, Tao Yuan walks in, distracting Loki. The man asked why Tao Yuan participated, and Tao Yuan replied that he was doing his brother's duty. Meanwhile, Loki encounters a cursed painting, is Revel's grandmother, and the painting patiently waited to be sealed forever by Loki in the name of the wizard. When Tao Yuan and the wanted man were dueling, soldiers on horseback discovered the wanted man. It seemed like everything was over for him, but suddenly there's a twist in the story. Snow Lopez, the person Tao Yuan always knew was Brother Chu, is one of his two brothers who disappeared a long time ago. As the cursed painting number 16, the adventure of the mountain spirit, is a witch's work about a mountain spirit with the ability to imitate human voices. Every day, the soul dreams of becoming human, and through its journey, the soul learns to recreate a human voice and overcome many challenges. Finally, thanks to its innate intelligence, this soul was accepted by humans and lived happily ever after. Everyone was surprised by the Taoyuan reunion and his deceased brother Cho, while the wanted man takes advantage of the opportunity to escape. Taoyuan approached his brother with a hopeful smile, expressing the fact that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. However, a disappointment came when Snow Lopez did not recognize him. Taoyuan continued to insist that Snow Lopez definitely recognized him because he and his brother Khan were constantly searching for it. Snow Lopez replied coldly, still unable to recognize the person standing in front of her. Taoyuan did not give up, continuing to repeat that he was from Department 4 of the company, Vinculum, and asked Lopez if he knew the Pazio family. Lopez seemed to have heard the name, but then lost patience. He said he had work to do and didn't like this conversation because Taoyuan was just a stranger he hoped to never see again. As Loki's condition worsened, Levi appears, determined to help despite Loki's initial resistance. Levi claims that Saxon sent him for a specific purpose. Worried about Loki's health, Levi suggested performing a comprehensive analysis. Meanwhile, Taoyuan reveals that Snow Lopez is his long-lost brother. Despite experiencing mixed emotions such as sadness, disappointment, and happiness that her brother did not recognize her, Taoyuan noticed something familiar. Lopez still maintained the habit of correcting his grammar, bringing some strange peace. In the end, Taoyuan felt relieved and satisfied to know that his brother was still alive and well. As for Revel, it seems like he'll be fine if his owner, Dan, agrees to let him live at the rooftop restaurant. Thanks to the whistle his grandmother gave him, Revel knew that she was always watching over him. Revel thanked the group for giving him the opportunity to properly say goodbye to his grandmother. Ethan happily waved goodbye as the group continued their journey. Taoyuan shares his plan to return to Isha's village to inform. Kan learns that Cho, their brother, is still alive. Levi approved of Taoyuan's idea and promised to update Saxon on his situation. Taoyuan was also asked to meet the group at Mrs. Lilac's house after completing his personal mission. The group arrived at Mrs. Lilac's house just before dark, and Levi warns them to stay away from anything with a red label because it's a restricted area. Levi led the group on a tour of his multifunction room at Mrs. Lilac's house. Levi's older sister, Hilda, joins the party and is ready to test the leech, taking special care of her. Hilda, Levi's older sister, introduced herself in a friendly manner and said that this is where Levi grew up as a child. In normal conversation, Hilda casually mentioned that they had a younger brother named Rolf. This information makes Leech realize that Levi's mission in Division 4 is to find his younger brother. Hilda asked Leecha if she had been vaccinated against the green glow disease, a disease that particularly affects children across the continent. The Sand Palace Foundation offers free tests to determine a child's vulnerability to the disease. Hilda reveals that Rolf has been hospitalized for tests, and since then they have received no information about the boy. Despite searching, there were no traces, and the organization confirmed there were no children matching their description. Therefore, Levi devoted all his energy to the task of finding his brother. Loki's test results are finally in, and it's not good news. The color of hemoglobin in his body has decreased significantly. Cursed paintings contain special substances called hemoglobin. These substances are present in the paintings and cause supernatural phenomena. Therefore, when paintings are torn or burned, just a little blood is enough to restore them. Each time Loki burned the cursed paintings, his body absorbed the hemoglobin from them. Loki's ability to heal himself without drinking blood is due to the very high level of hemoglobin in his body. This was also the only reason why he was able to reduce the paintings to ashes. His hemoglobin level remained high enough until Leech appeared. In contrast, Leech's hemoglobin increased, leading Saxon to conclude that there was a transfer of hemoglobin from Loki to Leech. In an interesting twist, the story reveals the identity of the mysterious man in the flyer. His name is Vax. The developments became even more surprising when it was discovered that Mr. Snow and Vax knew each other before, deepening their complex relationship. The narrative's subtlety increases as Snow's awareness of Taoyuan becomes apparent, suggesting a game of feigned ignorance. As the story continues, the partnership between Vax and Snow also becomes stronger, especially with Snow officially moving into headquarters to prepare for an important mission. Vax, pleased with this development, sensed that they were approaching an important goal. The story becomes even more interesting when Snow begins to consider investigating information stolen from the library. However, an awkward situation arises due to the close surveillance of those monitoring Snow's rapid rise, causing him to assign the investigation to Vax to keep his actions secret. This opens up more complications in the gradually unfolding story. Vax finds the witch's burial site, as Chu described it, but strangely, the gravesite was empty. Only a handcuff remained in a bucket of excavated soil.